And welcome to the spotlight on the one, the only, the Mr. Diesel. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, it's doing good, doing good. Early
Mate,
morning for me.
late evening for me, 11 p.m. here. What is it, 8 a.m. for you?
Yep, 8 a.m.
But if you've got chickens, mate, I'm guessing you're probably an early morning person as it is.
It usually is the case. It was a long day yesterday with my daughter's 11th birthday.
Oh,
Where,
man, that's awesome. Kids, we were talking about this, I think, in the last interview with Mitch, and that once you become a father, a parent, everything in your life changes, doesn't it?
most certainly. I have 5 children, and so my oldest is 14, and life took a massive change.
Mhm.
Especially when my firstborn son came in.
Yep. So, mate, um, you found out about me through Cam Can't Run.
Through Cam Can't Run. Yep. That
Yep.
was trying to think if that was the first time. Yeah, I think that was the first time. Yeah.
And he's been a big influence in your life, and I can totally understand why. I'm a big fan of the guy as well. He's just, yeah, pretty just down to earth and just a decent bloke.
Oh, extremely down to earth. Um, uh, all around, just I mean, I can't say enough. Guy's
Yeah.
fantastic. He's got a great backstory.
Yep.
Um,
Had a lot of life experiences that have shaped him into the man that he is now, and that's what we're going to be finding out about you because the brief bit of information. Yeah, I don't like to find out too much from guests before I start,
yeah,
but the brief bit you told me, you've definitely got a very very interesting story. So you're obviously from America. Hoorah!
yeah. I'm from Montana actually, so Bitterroot's are been
Oh,
on my mind.
how faithful is Bitterroot to what you grew up with?
Besides the Livonia Tower hanging out in the background, it's pretty it's pretty accurate. I like it's a good the woodsy aspects. A lot of the rolling hills and the mountains.
Hmm.
They did a good job. Maddie did a good job.
See, the reason I asked that is like, last year, obviously, I got to go to Prague and it was literally a trip. Just driving through the countryside, you feel like you're in a DayZ map. So it's good to know that uh, Matty Ice did such a good job with recreating that beautiful section of our countryside, or would you call it countryside, or is it mountain country?
I I would say they did a good job at centralizing it in Montana. You got on the west side of Montana is where you're going to hit the mountains and the Rockies, and then on the east side it's plains.
I think it's a beautiful map. I'm a huge fan of Bitterroot. I've actually been spending some time. There's a low pop server here in Australia that I found, and I've just been right. I've got myself a Humvee now, and just driving around and exploring it. So much has changed because I took a big break from DayZ for a while there, and going back into it now. And Maddie's working on the map again, which is great. But so much has changed. But mate, we could talk DayZ for ages, and we'll probably come back to it time and time again throughout the interview. I want to find out more about you. So, Montana boy, been there all your life?
Uh, Born and raised there. Left when I was 11 years old with my mom, and I guess think I was with my dad at the time. We moved out to Minnesota. My grandmothers came out here to Minnesota. Originally, the rest of my family, like my mom's side, are all from Colorado, and we'll get to that later on there. But yeah, Montana that whole time. My dad's side of the family lives out there. They're all
Hmm.
very they're fifth, sixth generation, same land. So it was a great time. Always,
What do they do?
we,
Cattle farmers or?
no. So interesting enough, my great great grandfather out there. Anyways, he had a basically a salvage yard
Hmm.
for all old school cars, and I mean, well, old school now, right? So he ran that for many years, and then it went down to the next generation as well. And eventually, when it got to my grandfather, he was in the army for most all his adult life. So with that, I guess that's really it there. And mechanics. My uncle, part owner of a transmission shop. And that's
I
actually,
imagine you're pretty handy when it comes to finding your way around an engine and shit.
yeah, I've been a diesel mechanic for about 5 years now, employed as one, anyways.
Awesome. And you've done the trade, or you just basically get the job because you know as much as most people have done a trade?
Um, I did a short year of schooling for it. And uh, the first company I worked for as a diesel mechanic, they paid for my schooling.
Yep.
Honestly, prior to that, for the 12 years prior to that, I was a area manager. I managed about 8 like auto retail stores throughout the entire state of Colorado. I know Colorado is going to get random there, but
So you spent probably a fair bit of time on the road.
I spent um, countless hours on the road for the whole state of Colorado. There was about 8 different stores, and they were in
And you had
every
a
corner
family
of
while you
the
were
state.
doing that?
I did, yes.
That's hard, isn't it?
Well, that's actually what. Well, I was married for about 10 years, and the employment with that job is kind of what um, put a hindrance there, put a lot of stress there as well, um, and later led to us separating.
Just a quick thank you very, very much for the $5 super chat there, Dux. I really do appreciate it, mate. We don't make a lot because we're always demonetized. If you feel the need to swear, mate, if you've got, I don't censor anything. I just let it all go because this is unfiltered and it's just, yeah, it's raw, mate.
Okay.
That's got to have been something really, really hard for you. But we'll come back to that. Tell us a bit about growing up for yourself as a young lad.
Uh, Growing up young was there was a joy at times. A lot of times it wasn't. So we grew up Bozeman, Montana. Um,
I think I've heard of
Very.
Bozeman. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of true crime and conspiracy theories and all that sort of shit. So
Hopefully the
I've
true
heard of
crime isn't.
a lot of weird places in America and throughout the world.
Bozeman, Missoula, um, like Whitefish, and some popular towns, anyways, in Montana. So growing up, we were my father. He was a custodian for a company. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was called VLC, and it was a manufacturer for slot machines.
Oh wow.
So they actually built the slot machines. They had a lot of the artists were out that worked in house that drew out the leprechauns or the designs you would see as they're rolling through to pick up. And then what did my mother do for work? Mostly stay-at-home mom for my sister and I. I do have a sister,
Mhm.
she's about 3 years younger than I am. But we grew up in some pretty in poverty. We lived
Yep.
in a most of my childhood that I remember. We lived in a trailer house that was across the street from a livestock yard. So livestock's for large cattle. Before it goes on to any sort of auction, or anything like that. So of course, I always smelt of great joy in the summer.
I
Um,
I grew up quite poor as well. But I look back on a lot of that with fondness. My
mhm,
nana taught me a lot of good little tips and tricks. And when it comes to food, I'm a very, very simple guy, hearty sort of food with a bit of meat. Usually something I can't find anymore. It's gone out of fashion, mutton. But I used to love mutton. But you don't see it here in Australia anymore. It's all lamb.
yeah,
But yeah,
fun,
she
cheap,
used
right?
to. Yep, and she used to cook mutton all the time and make these soups and stews. And God, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But yeah, even down to things like for breakfast, some days I would have milk soaked in bread with a teaspoon of sugar on it. But I look back at that, and that's a fond memory for me. What's something like that for you?
I guess let's see something like that for me. I guess one of my fondest memories was, as a family when we would get together on holidays. There was this game that when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to play because I didn't know the rules, and there's this big board they would put out, and be all my whole family would get together, grandparents, aunts, uncles, everyone would get together on the holidays, and I would always be sitting on one of my older relatives' laps watching them play this game with pennies, and I can't remember the name of the game, but it'd be a big placemat they'd put out, and you'd use pennies and dimes and nickels to like place your
If
bet, so
anyone
to
in
speak.
chat's got an idea, let us know. But
Yeah,
yeah, go
but
on.
but so just getting together, just as a family, that was my fondest memories with my grandfather. Unfortunately, he passed. My oldest son was about 3, so yeah, 11 years ago. So when it got into the later portion of my life where I could really appreciate a lot of the things that he had taught me, and be able to reminisce with him about some of those memories. Didn't really get the chance because I left Montana when I was 11 years old.
Yep.
But I would say, yeah, just those family times. Um, okay, sometimes with my mother, she was my mom was really into the original Mario, like original Mario, Super Mario 2, Super Mario 3,
Yep.
and we would sometimes when I got to stay up late, that's what we would be playing, is doing that. And even still to this day, I have an original NES, and I actually took it out a couple of years ago. I had a little house party at my place in Colorado, and a bunch of friends were over, and
Facility reckons it was the Ouija board.
not quite, not quite. Hopefully not. But so yeah, still to this day, I can actually get all 3 flutes and get to World 7, still on the first world of Super Mario 3. So,
Yep.
still carries some of those memories. Yeah,
So, how old were you when you joined the National Guard?
I was 17. I actually graduated basic training before I graduated high school. It's an OSAT program that they came in recruiting, because this was in 2007, I believe, give or take a year. 2007. So we were still in the Iraqi war at that time. And yeah, recruiter came in my junior year, and I was in on my automotive class, and just really, I don't know. The idea came that I think this would be something that I would really want to
So
do.
how does the National Guard work for those who aren't in America? Like in Australia, we had the Army and we had the Army Reserve. And the classic ad for that was 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, or something like that. And every Tuesday night, you go in for your parade, and basically just that one night a week. But yeah, 1 weekend a month, you go out bush or on the base and do stuff. Is it basically the same?
Basically, basically the same. Army Reserve, National Guard are very, very similar. They're both a branch of the Army as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, same thing. 1 weekend a month.
The
Except for in the
National
summers.
Guard is a state thing, isn't it? As opposed to the
It is
Army
a so
Reserve
yeah,
being
so
a federal thing.
correct. So yes, the National Guard, the governor of your state can call you for a natural disaster.
And I also found out recently that you guys can actually get deployed overseas as well.
Oh, correct. My unit got deployed literally 2 or 3 months after I got out, and I was I was heartbroken. I was on a voluntary deploy list the entire time I was in. So.
Yep. Why did you get out?
Well, wasn't by choice. How to say this? So shortly after completing basic AIT, and I would say about a year or so in, I made one of the biggest mistakes in my life. I got in trouble with the law, committed 4 felonies, and
How old were you when that happened?
I was 19.
Damn.
Yeah. So, that happened, and of course, was something as I mean, 4 felonies is what it ended with.
I have to ask,
Go ahead.
did you go hard, 4 felonies at once, or was it a trickle of felonies over time?
No, it was about 6 at once, and I pled down to 4. And it's nothing that I'm proud of. I got a lot of life experience from that. I did spend
Like nearly everyone has done shit that they're not proud of when they were young. As long as you didn't kill anyone,
nope.
um, didn't do anything with kids, didn't rape a woman, you should be pretty much fine in my books, mate. Everything else is kind of, you can debate on it.
Yeah, it was basically we I mean, whatever, we burglarized, robbed a bar, and yeah, they find a good way to get you caught up in that. And you would think
What
going
was the
through
motivation? I have to ask, what was the motivation?
motivation was arrogance, to be super honest. Like at that time, I
Yep.
was, I grew up in like,
Young, dumb, and full of cum. 10
young,
foot tall and
young, dumb,
bulletproof.
full of cum. We were a family that grew up in just so much poverty stricken. Like at that age, like time period, I had ran away from home a few times because this is still when I was really young. I mean, I graduated, like I said, basic before I graduated high school, so I was still in high school. I was at that time in my life. I ran away from home numerous times. My parents, my stepdad, and my mother, love them to death. They're great people. But everyone makes mistakes. I had a job really early on in life, and at about age 13, I was delivering newspapers in my neighborhood. And then the following year, at 14, I was working at like a Burger King fast food place. And my mother at the time, she became really good friends with the owner, and especially that was an earlier time as well. Labor laws weren't the same. I worked a lot, even going through just being in school. Be times I'd be getting down out of high school, going to work.
Is that a
Um,
doggo I see behind you?
which one? Yep, that's Lucy, my border collie. Border
Nice.
collie, and then my mini poodle. You won't be able to you won't be able to see him. He doesn't have tall enough stature. Um, but so I was running away a lot with the money I was putting aside. Coming from the not substantial amount of money. And my parents weren't providing me with my first car when I turned 16 to be able to drive, so I was saving up for
Brother,
that.
that you've hit on a point there where you see it so often with a lot of people when they're commenting and that on stuff that's happening in the world at the moment. And I watched a video by a big Australian YouTuber, Friendly Geordies, and he was talking about for most years your parents are going to leave you something, and I'm like, what world are you fucking living in? Like, I watch these videos where these people get fucking, Antiques Roadshow is another one of my guilty pleasures. I like watching it. And you see these people bringing in and they bring this box of jewelry in, and the guy says, oh, yes, that's worth about £10,000. And I'm lucky if I got a fucking cordless drill from my old man.
Right? Yeah.
And if I had, if it wouldn't have had a fucking battery with it, or it would have been a battery from a different drill. That, But again, I don't hold any grudges about that. I don't expect anything, and I'm happy for those who are in a situation where their family can. But for a lot of us out there, there's no fucking support network like that, is there?
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know what that is. I mean, I said my grandfather passing. I don't even think I got a baseball cap. And then my parents are still going, but I'm not. There's no situation definitely like that, like that for myself.
I think it
During that
makes you
time
harder
period,
though, mate. You realize you've got to just buckle up
I think.
and do it yourself. Once you get past that young, stupid age, where I get that there's a lot of people out there, they're bitter at the world because they're not like a Paris Hilton or a Kardashian or someone where basically they're gorgeous and everything's handed to them on a silver platter. For the rest of us, it's a case of, okay, yeah, it kind of sucks that you're not one of them, but get over it. Just fucking deal with it. If you sit there crying about not having, my dad sent me $50 for Christmas once. So
Yeah, I
I
saw
in
that.
chat there, yeah. But you just got to fucking not dwell on that. It sucks, yeah. Is it fair? Well, I'm not going to say it's not fair. It's life. Life isn't
Exactly.
fair. Just fucking deal with it and try to make sure that you can do better for your kids below you. That's been my and my missus's goal. She's from a very similar background, and we just it is what it is.
Duck trophies, huh? But yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think that it does make you hard. It kind of ices over the heart a little bit, and that is handy for a lot of the things that life is going to throw at you later on. Right, keeps you strong, keeps your indomitable spirit up. Um, as long as you can retain that indomitable spirit and you don't let those times kind of take you to the ground and drag you through the mud and you don't get back up. And, you see that in life as well, where people go through those things and there isn't they don't reach that light at the end of the tunnel, or um, they don't take it for what it's worth. Take those
Hmm.
positives out of those hard times that they came about. And going back to why, what led to me making those decisions is, so at that time, my parents they were taking all the money out of my savings account when I was putting in that money to save up, for my car. So later on, I went with my grandmother. 'Cause I couldn't drive yet. I was 15, 16. Or I was just before I was going to get my first car, and went to the bank. And back then, there was no direct deposit. It was, you got a check, and you had to go bring it to the bank and deposit it. And so I was doing that, and I was really curious. I was like, asked the bank teller, "Hey, can I see the balance in my account?" Just, be just curious. And there's like next to nothing in there. So my grandmother's like, "Hey, ask them for some receipts, okay, and then, you know, show your mom." And I was kind of worried, like, growing up, you didn't question your mom, you didn't do those things, you know, getting your ass whooped was a that was that it was something then. So I brought it up to her, and my stepfather and my mom were very big gamblers. They'd be at the casinos constantly. At that age, like I said, I left Montana at 11 to move here to Minnesota. So this time I was in Minnesota, and they gambled a lot. I mean, most every night that I got off of school, by the time I got to school, they would get us some dinner, situate my sister and I, and they were out. They were gone. Wouldn't see them till the following morning. Sometimes I wouldn't even see them the following morning before I went to school. And, is what it is. But yeah, I found out that they took that money. I, brought it up to my mother, and she got sad about it. My stepdad kind of took offense to it because I said, I'm not putting half of my checks in the bank anymore. Like, I'll save it myself. If this is going to be the case, like, I don't mind, if we need something as a family and I work to help as a helping hand in the family because I'm part of it. I don't mind if you guys ask me, "Hey, we can't make the electric bill," or there was some bill that you couldn't make that, "Hey, we know you got a savings. Can we use it?" That it just was never asked. So all that money got taken out. So after that, after I said that I wasn't going to put any money in there anymore, my stepdad's like, "Well, then you're not allowed to work." And I took that
What?
as yeah, he's like, "Well, then you're not allowed to work anymore if you're not going to put half of it in the bank." And I was like, excuse me, wait, what did you just say? Like, I was so confused because my stepdad, he taught me how to hunt. He taught me how to work on cars. He like, at 11 years old, my mother met him when we were shortly after that, and he took on a big role of being a stepfather to my sister and I, and he did a fantastic job of it. Not gonna lie, he taught me most of those traditional things that your father would teach you. He definitely taught me, and he taught me very well. So that I can carry those things down and teach my kid how to, field a deer and fish and do numerous things. But yeah, when he presented me with that, like, well, then I'm not going to let you work. I was irate. I was so mad. I was like, wait a minute, like this makes no sense. This is not fair. You're right. Life isn't fair, but at a certain point in time, when someone's projecting that unfairness to you, you have the option to say no. So I got quite furious, and I started running away. I took off. I think I ran away 5 different times, like on paper, so to speak. But the county um, of the state of Minnesota that I lived in, the first time you ran away, they took you like to this like it was called Evergreen. It's like a halfway house where runaways would go. Right, that was having issues with the family. Well, in the county that I was in, every time following, so you got basically one strike. Every time following that, you were in a juvenile detention center. Every time you ran away. So I spent before I even joined the military, shit, I spent I would say 6+ months in different stints of being in a juvenile detention center.
I
Um,
I am genuinely stunned by that. Like, that is not what I thought America was like. You
I'm
know,
not saying all of America's like that, but they really push. You
that's
need to
some
be with your
dystopian fucking shit, man. Kids fucking getting put in a halfway house and then fucking in juvenile for, like, did they do any counseling with you or anything, or was it punishment?
parents. No, they don't. No, they don't give a shit to do that. Like, it was, you're not listening to your parents. Your parents want you home. You're saying no. This is where you go. Like, it was friends. But here's the thing, though. The county, like, so I was on like a county line, and I was one side of the road. Well, basically, it was there's about a half mile of where the county that I was in, and then the county that I went to school. So I got the option to choose which school I went to, going through high school because we were so close to the line in the county where the county line was. So I chose to go to the larger school where all my friends were that I'd met previously. So if I lived technically, if my address was in the other county, I would have just kept going to the halfway house. But the county that I was in, just a little bit harder, had different rules. So literally a half mile separated me from spending that much time in a juvenile detention center. But, um, you know, uh, just taught me, know, being hard, going through hard situations, you can always find the bright side of that, of how that's going to get you through rough times. It's going to help you get through because you've been through rough times already, right? But what it doesn't help is being compassionate towards other situations, or feeling like that's not always how it's going to be, especially at a young age. And I took it that way. I took it like, I already grew up, rough. My dad, my actual father, before we moved to Minnesota at 11, uh, every other night he'd be beating the piss out of my mom. She'd be screaming, she'd be hollering, he'd be beating the piss out of her. And my job was to put my hands over my sister's ears and tell her everything was be okay. How I protected my little sister, but it was nonstop all the time. I'm talking 3, 4 times a week. My
He
mom would
didn't
be drugged.
he didn't take to your kids, did he?
No, no, that's the thing. My that was the crazy situation growing up, is that my actual father was not my stepdad, but my actual father, he was like my best friend. We collect Pokemon cards together. He'd take me to work. So like I said, he worked at that as a janitor for that VLC. It was a large company that made the slot machines. So I would go to work with him sometimes and do his job, and we would go clean the offices. And a lot of times, the artists there would know, my father, and know that I would come to work with them sometimes. So they would leave me, some leprechaun pictures, or some works of art that they were finished doing the sketches for before it went digital. And they would leave them there for me, not in the trash can, but I would go through and help them pull garbage bags. And it was just a big office building, basically. And he had a truck. We didn't do much. He wasn't a big fisherman or anything like that, but he really liked his trucks. He liked tinkering with his Bronco that he had at the time. And my real dad was like my best friend. But that's the crazy part of it, is like, sure, he's my best friend. We'd beat the piss out of my mom all the time, and I hated him for that. But then my mom, of course, she wouldn't take it out on us kids physically, which is very verbal. She would be screaming and hollering all the time. And looking back, I don't blame her. She was going through a very rough time. So like, before we moved to Minnesota at age 11, when I was 11, a little bit before that and a little bit following that, for about a 3-year gap, my between my mom, my sister, and I, we jumped back and forth between living in battered women shelters, while she was going through court cases, against my father, so that he didn't know where we were. And like I said, he wasn't abusive towards my sister and I. He beat the piss out of my mom. So that was a hard conundrum for me, right? Like, wait a minute, Dad, you're like my best friend. You're my protector. When mom gets hollering at me too much, you always got my back. But then, wait a minute, you're also the person that literally like beats that what she'd be screaming. Like, it was definitely not a great time growing up. So it was really hard to establish, like, uh, what the hell, like. I didn't feel like I had a place. I could not wait to get out of that situation. And it kind of took a toll on my relationship with my sister when I got older, because I just wanted out. I wanted out so bad. I didn't want anything to do with my family members. I didn't want anything to do with my mother. I didn't want anything, because the thing with my mom is, we were great. We had good memories, but she would treat me like her friend, right? So I'm young, 8, 9 years old, and she'd be talking to me about these protection orders that the court has, and that, oh well, we have this. She would just talk to me like an adult, as her friend during that time period, and I'm a child. I'm still young, so I didn't really have, starting at like 6 or 7 years old, I wasn't treated like a 6 or 7 year old anymore. I was treated as the person that had to take care of my sister. I was treated as the person that had to listen to my mother and hear about what she
Grown-up
had
shit.
going on, a grown up shit. So I wasn't a kid. I wasn't able to be one anymore. And we'd go to these battered women shelters and not know anyone that lives there. We'd be living in bunks with you know God knows who. So my main thing was protecting my sister, making sure she was okay, making sure that when my mom was away or had to go get groceries or do whatever, that I was there with her. And looking back at it now, at 34, where I sit, I I've a couple of years ago, I had a nice long chat with my mom, and I let her know that I really want you to know that I forgive you for everything, anything that ever was that happened that I was so mad at you about, and for all these things. I was like, honestly, looking back, you did the very best you could, and sometimes doing the best you could, even though it might have been bad, um, you still put the effort in. I didn't go to a foster family. I didn't do any of those things. So you did the very best you could, and I do love you for that. So kind of made amends on some of those negative things. But during that time, phase of running away, I it, that going then that would make me view back on when I was even younger, like what the hell, like there's just no giving this shit. I got a stepdad who was a very good man, and now he's turned on me. And then my mother wanted me when I first got picked up on those charges. She wanted me to sit in jail through Thanksgiving, sit in jail through Christmas, and I was like, Mom, these are serious enough charges that I promise you I'll be doing my time. But can I please come home? And this is going to be the last Thanksgiving or Christmas I'm going to have for a little chunk of time here, because I'm going to be sitting for a long period of time in jail. And she said, no, 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 you're sitting in there, blah, blah, blah. And my stepdad, he went against her, and he actually bailed me out of jail so I could, be with the family over Christmas, because he understood. And that caused a huge rift in their marriage. So, yeah. So I guess what
And
led to it,
people are so fucking complicated. It
amen.
is. It's just.
Amen.
It is. I've said it time and time again. Everyone is capable of incredible acts of kindness and incredible acts of evil. To greater or lesser degrees. And it's a famous saying, and I'll say it again, that I've said on here. Even Hitler had some good qualities. He liked
Yeah.
dogs,
Yeah.
but he was a fucking evil man. But
Evil man, but
the
yeah.
shit you've just said then, like, kind of similar for me, except my father was a coward. I'm not aware of him ever beating my mother up, but my mother was very hands-on with the kids. His problem was drinking and gambling, and he would steal from anywhere and everywhere to get money to fund it, and that destroyed their marriage. And I too have memories of going to special houses to get away from him, and it kind of makes me wonder now that I'm grown up and thinking about it. It was like, what did she tell them to get into? Like we got put up in houses all over fucking Perth.
Yep.
There's one that I still remember that was a really nice old house. It was that big I could ride a fucking bike around inside the house. And I'm like, what did she tell them? Like, was it just because he was a drunken stealing? Because hand on my heart, I don't remember him ever being violent. But she would take to us with horse whips, fucking vacuum pipes, everything like that. I was kind of lucky in that I was mostly raised by my grandmother. It wasn't until my grandmother died that I was really home, but I missed a lot of it. My brothers and sisters, they're all fucking they all witnessed it. So maybe it was happening and I just wasn't there for it. But man, the other thing there as well, you're a better man than me, mate. To be able to go to your mother and say, I forgive you. I never forgave my mother. She died at the end of last year, and I didn't even shed a tear. I was just angry that she robbed my son of a grandparent just because she was such a selfish cunt. But man, it's the one thing I want to say to you is, like, I could detect there's that bit of shame about your 4 to 6 felonies that you got done for being stupid. My man, after having watched as much true crime fucking shit as I did, and how much so many of the worst fucking evil scum on the face of the earth is because of fucked up parents. If the worst you did was rob a bar, brother, you came out pretty fucking good. You came out pretty fucking good from everything
Yeah.
that you were brought up around. So big fucking kudos for that. And yeah,
For me,
it seems like you've learnt a lot as well, and you're carrying that over to you being a parent now as well. But so you were in the National Guard. That was your way of trying to get away from home. And then you did your fuck up and you robbed the bar. And I take it that got you dishonorably discharged?
no. Um,
No.
no, it didn't actually. I do not have a dishonorable discharge. I have a neutral discharge, which is a technically like the failure to cope discharge. My XO really, I did really well through basic training, through AIT. In my time there, I
How
was a
long were you in
leadership
for? So about 2 years?
about 2 years, give or take. I don't really, I can't, I would have to go look at my DD 214 to see exactly. But so during the time, during the trials, during my court hearings, I still had to stay in until I was, until I was officially charged, right? So, you're innocent until proven guilty. But that came another issue. So, like, I did really well, like, super well. Basic, I was in leadership roles. I was my squad leader. We were in weapon squad, and we carried the 240 Bravo and the Saw, and I, yeah, I was leadership in during that time period. I was leadership during our huge the whole time in there. I was in a leadership role. I did great physically. PT scores were through the roof. Um, did well, and I really found a place where I felt like I belonged. I finally found somewhere that I was in control of some things, and not necessarily I was in control, but the effort that I put in, I got something out of it instead of you know just what we talked about. So I took a lot of pride. Like I was like, oh, this is it. This is everything. When I got out of those things and was back with my friends and committed those, the shame doesn't come from the fact that I robbed the bar. Sure, yes, a horrible thing to do. I'm an honest person. That was not something that I would do. The shame is I didn't get to put that. I was I did something that made it so I can't put that uniform on anymore. And I took a lot of pride in that uniform. I took a lot of pride in what I was doing. So for me, I was so ashamed of that. Like I wouldn't even put the uniform on. So sat down with XO and we talked, and he's like, I am gonna do you a solid favor. I'm gonna give you this discharge. It's a neutral discharge. It's not honorable. It's not dishonorable. He's like, but listen, he's like, you're gonna come out of this situation with 4, 5, 6 felonies. If I give you a dishonorable discharge, you're gonna be a 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid coming out with this many felonies and a dishonorable discharge. Your life's fucked. Like you're not getting a serious fucking job no matter what you do. Like you're gonna have that on your record. You're gonna have those felonies on your record. No, I won't allow it. So he's gave me a failure to cope discharge, which is neutral. So I'm in good standing with the military and technically in that aspect. Um, and then yeah, following that, yeah, I spent a year. Had some decent lawyers. And spent a year in jail. Yeah,
Only a year.
only yeah, only a year and a lot of money I had to pay off. I had to pay a lot of restitution. But I mean, the nice part about it is, I was on work release in jail. I learned a lot. I got to read a lot of books. Um, Regardless of what people say about jail, I had sounds stupid. I had a decent time there. Literally, I got to sleep as much as I wanted. Okay, I got to talk with people that you know, had a lot of crazy life stories. I got to learn a lot about people while being in there. I'm a people watcher. I'll sit and just like
Mhm.
that's a big thing. So like I got to learn a lot about you know how people is this psychology side of it. I guess I don't know. I took it that way. Like I would just talk with guys and find out their stories and find out why and find out what and kind of just okay, log that one. What about the next guy? And we would all like I had no issues there at all. Got out on work release, so I did get relief from that. So I got to go work on a lot of days and then come back. But yeah, I mean it's nothing that I'm proud of, but a lot of these scars make us who we are following, or a lot of the
Yes.
calluses that we build are going to
Yep.
make us who we are when the time, you know, when it comes time for showtime, or it comes time to be a parent, when it comes time that you don't have the money to pay the bills or to do those things, you can dig hard. You can dig hard. You can tighten up those bootstraps and say, no matter what, we will succeed. It'll be fine. Right now is hard, but those hard times that you go through before make it so when you're the one responsible for the hard times in the future, you know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You know, you don't give up. It's just plain and simple. You do not give up. You've been through worse or you've been through the same, that you know that it can come out in a positive way.
So you're out of the National Guard, you're out of jail. What's next?
Yep. This is when I became a carny.
I've been looking forward to this bit.
Oh, I bet you.
How the fuck did that happen?
Okay. So out of jail. Once again, I have all those felonies. So getting a normal job is kind of out of the question. Most places, they're like, whoa. You know, those felonies didn't help me, and especially when it comes to robbing a bar, that's technically called theft. So a lot of jobs here, that's a no go. If they run your background and there's any theft, that is instant no go. That's not happening. So, I was doing so when I was going through high school, I was in youth group, and my youth leader, from that church, he laid carpet and did flooring, right? So he laid carpet in big apartment complexes. So I started doing that. Work dried up, and this was just in between stage. This is about a year or so prior to my first son being born. He's 14 now. So I was doing those side jobs as much as I could, making some cash, doing everything. I had not quite met my the mother of my children, or my ex-wife at the time. But so we're going through doing that job. Work dries up. One of my buddies is like, "Hey, I got a guy that does those trampoline stands at the carnivals." And I was like, "Trampoline stands? What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, they got the big trampolines and they strap you to bungees and you have a harness on, and the kids or whoever pay a little bit of money, and you, based on their weight, put a different bungee on them and they jump and they can do backflips, whatever." He's like, "I'm sure you've seen them at the
Yep.
carnivals." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, fine." He's like, "He's paying good. He's paying cash. You don't got to worry about, anything with your background or anything of that nature." I'm like, "Well, hell, let's do it." This is once again before my son is born. So one of my good friends and I went and did that together. We did that for a couple shows or a couple um, uh, fair events, and work dried up for him. He's like, "Well, I'm going to be the guy that owned that said I am going to be stopping. Do you guys still need work?" We're like, "Well, yeah, we still need work. We're in a different town right now." Precisely. We need gas money and stuff to even get back home. He's like, "Well, I got a guy that I can talk to and I'll hook you guys up." I'm like, "Okay, whatever that means." So he comes back, like a day or so later, and he's like, "All right, I can get you in with the game jocks." I'm like, "Game jocks? What is that? What the hell does that even mean?" He's like, "Well, there's ride jocks, there's game jocks in the carnival." And I'm like, "Oh shit." I was like, "All right, well, what do you mean?" He's like, "Well, the ride jocks are the ones that run the rides, like the zipper, the merry-go-round, or you give them a ticket and you take your kids on those rides. Those are the game jocks, or the ride jocks. And the game jocks, this is their lingo, anyways. But the game jocks were the ones that ran the
Run the
games. So
scam games.
yep, the scam games, trying to get the ball into the buckets, trying to knock over the milk crates or the milk containers, throwing the darts at the balloons, all those." And he's like, "I can get you a job with him." And my buddy and I were pretty desperate at the time. We're like, "Fuck it, let's do it." Him and I look at each other and we're like, we just grin and we're like, "Let's give this a shot." We were already wild. We smoked a bunch of weed at the time. We were whatever. So like, hey, this might be fitting. Let's do it. Let's give it a shot. Whatever. And boy, let me tell you, the ride of my life had just about to start. We went from southern Minnesota, did our first gig there, and that was insane. Getting to know the rule. That's like slave labor, my man. Like we were working an hour before
Were you just on one game, or were you being moved through multiple games?
I was at. Well, see, that's the thing with so like there's there's like a tier, right? A chain of command, so to speak, of these levels of experienced carnies in the games. So when it comes to the tubs, do you know what I'm talking about? The tubs where they have like the 2-3 blue tubs. against the wall, and then you try and take a softball and land
Yep.
it and keep it in the tub, right?
Yeah.
That game, I'll tell you about how it's rigged later on. But so those tub agents, they're called tub agents. Okay, that's what their title is, and that's top level. That's top tier. Like that is, you don't get that position unless you know what you're doing, right? So when we first started out, I was on the Crab Shack. Okay, you know what we did? My game was there was a kiddie pool, like those plastic pools you get your kids to
Yeah.
put your feet in. Okay, it was one of those with a pump
Magnetic
in it.
hook or something.
No. So that would be in the middle. Okay, and there would be a pump. If we'd fill it full of water, there'd be a pump that would cycle everything around. We would take these rings that were like look like floaties. Then we take salsa dishes, like glass, like you'd put your salsa in there and salsa and chips, the shallow, smaller little tray. We would take the glass ones and spray paint them different colors. Okay, so most of them would be, let's say, yellow. A couple of them would be green, and one of them would be red. We'd put those trays on the floaties, and with the water spinning, now you've created an area in which you need to try and get an object inside of the salsa like dish, okay, to get that prize that correlated with the color of the dish you got it in. Well, these are ping pong balls, right? So you're trying to get ping pong balls to land in the glass deal while they're cycling through on this pool on little floaties. So that's what's doing. So my job was, selling people ping pong ball throws into these deals. You know, the prizes were, see, this is, I later on had a great relationship with animals at that point in time. Probably not so much. So the prizes there were hermit crabs. Okay, so that was what you got for the lowest prize. Second place prize was a turtle, a little box turtle, an actual live turtle, and the grand prize was an iguana. Not even shitting you, a fucking full on iguana, a lizard. So those
Wow.
were our prizes. So we had those in showcase, ordeals, and you got to win those prizes. So kids, of course, are attracted to those. They're animals. So like, um, yeah, that was I was on the Crab Shack the entire time I was there, and we traveled from southern Minnesota down to Iowa. I traveled all the way
How
to
many
Texas with
iguanas
them.
did you give away?
A lot of iguanas. I mean, okay, so we talk about being young, dumb, and full of cum right as a thing. I'm not proud of this. This is very early on in my life, so I don't want this to. So there'd be a lot of single hot moms that would come through, and I I'm not saying I'm a handsome gentleman or bragging about myself, but compared to most other carnies, I'm pretty decent bloke, pretty decent guy for these women. So I would get hit on a lot while I'm, doing my thing from the local people in that town. And yeah, I gave away a handful of iguanas to go, hang out with a child's mom the later on that night, or whatnot. So um yeah, I tried getting rid of as many of those animals as I could. Where I was bunked, we were in these bunks, which is basically like horse trailers section off, and that's where you lived. See, since I was in the Crab Shack, the ventilation that came through for the because like basically it was a trailer split in half, and there was bunks every so often, right? And they were, boarded off, and there was a bunk in there. Well, this opposite side, you shared the ventilation that went through there, the fan. Well, since I'm the Crab Shack, I'm responsible for all the hermit crabs, the turtles, and the iguanas. Guess where all those animals got to stay during the in-between times, and what? Yes,
In the other half of the carriage.
the other half of me. So, oh my goodness. So you basically had incentive to keep everything clean, right? So that was the case. But anyways, being a carny, this is a whole new world. This is like a whole structure, different like military structure, like a gang structure. Like you got like there's people you don't talk to. There's people you don't cross. There's people you got to think about it. So as being a carny, you're in a different town every week, right? So this breeds people that are running from the law. Like you get paid in cash. You still have your money to do what you need to do, but you're paid in cash and you're constantly always moving. There's no background check to be a carny, right? So like I'm a kid and I'm with these people that are running from the law for running guns, for massive drug charges, for murder, for all these things, and you bundle us all up, right? So it's like going through basic training. You're bundled up with people from all across the nation, and you get to learn new stuff, and it's you learn teamwork and all that. So basically the same, but with a bunch of criminals, a bunch of people that do not give a rat's ass, or people that have had to do horrible things to make sure they had a meal to eat at the end of the day, right? So we went through some. We were on a reservation in South Dakota, and when we first got there to set up, so you didn't, as a carny, you don't get paid until you set up the following show. So you do a week at the town you're in, do all that, you rack up your points, right? Points is your percentage. So depending on how long you've been there, how good you are, you get a higher amount of points. Okay. And that points is, like I said, the percentage you get of the overall money that you bring in personally. So they add that all up every night. You get like a per diem every day. You get $20 a day. Here you go. This is to feed your ass. And then, so the money that the scores that you collect during that week, depending on your point system, once that week is done and you tear down that show, once you set up the next show at the next town, after setup is when everyone gets paid out their scores based on their points for the previous week's time, right? So we get to this place in South Dakota and we're about to set up. And at this time, this is probably like third or fourth town that I'd been in when, so I was getting a little bit more comfortable with these people. And as we're setting up, 4 or 5 4-wheelers pull up, and we're like, what the hell? What's going on? And we're in the middle of like the main Broadway of a small town. So like we're in between all these buildings. 4-wheelers are thrown by, and it's police officers. And they come up, they're like, hey, they get us all together and they have a little meeting with us. And they're like, all right, we just want all of you guys to know, for anyone that's new or hasn't been here, you see those railroad tracks? And they point over the railroad tracks. He's like, across those railroad tracks, we have zero jurisdiction. I cannot do anything for you if you're on that side of those railroad tracks. Okay. He's like, I can't tell you how many years in a row constantly we find dead carny goers, you guys, on the other side of those railroad tracks. So I'm going to give you advice. Do not ever go across those railroad tracks. Okay. Don't do that. We're on a closed Native American reservation. So that was the line, right? So we get that information and we're kind of spooked, whatever. And one night we get this story. So these cops are coming up on 4-wheelers, right? Like we're in a very small town in South Dakota. And one night, after we had closed up, one of the guys found that one of the tents got broken into and someone stole a bunch of like super large teddy bears, right? Like super stuffed animals that people went. Someone stole them. So we're running out. Well, we are okay, so all of those big items that you see at a carnival, those come out of your pay. So you can let someone win, right? But you have to strategize how you're going to attract the attention. Like a bunch of people are there, you let someone win. When someone sees that someone just won the big prize, that's going to attract more people to come to your game, right? Because, oh shit, they just won, so can I. So, but those large prizes came out of our pay. So if someone won one, you had to pay for that prize. Well, someone went through, some locals came through, broke into that tent and stole a bunch of the stuff. Well, the guy that owns the carnival, he is one of the hardest guys I've ever met. There's no excuse, no ifs, ands, or buts for what's going on. My cat too. Um, but so anyway, so they got broken into. So we're like, hell, we got to find him, right? There's like a trail of shit. So we're in pursuit, right? We're going through this town, going through buildings, trying to find out. You can't miss someone with a big ass teddy bear, right? So we're all, we're investigating, going through, trying to track this guy. I see a guy that's random in there, and I talked to him, and we were suspicious that he was part of maybe a couple guys that had came in, broke in, and stole the shit. So we're trying to get the stuff back, and he pulls the Bugs Bunny on me, like a Bugs Bunny. Oh yeah, he went that way, and you look that way. He sprints the opposite direction, right? Like so. So we're in like running, chasing after this guy, running through like people's backyards, jumping over fences, trying to track him down. Well, the police get word of this, right? So they shit you not, they come to help us. Okay. So it's not like the police said, oh, you guys go home, go to your bunks, go to sleep. We'll take care of this. No, they come with us. So it's me and like 2 other guys. We're trying to chase this guy down, find out where he went. We find another guy that's running that we suspect has stolen this stuff. We have the police officers with us. There's like 2 police officers I remember with us, jumping over fences, looking through yards, clearing fucking playground equipment that's in the backyard of some of these residential houses, right? I shit you not, I'm walking down and we're just casually walking down, looking around. It's the middle of the night. And we're going through and I hear an interesting noise. And we're like, what the hell? So we think someone's, hiding over in this shed. I turn around. This police officer, I don't know how long he was a police officer, has his gun, his weapon, his sidearm drawn, like right behind me, aiming down sights, just swinging that thing every which way. Like he's fucking scared. So, and I'm, we think we're the buffoons, running through people's yards, doing everything. But we had the literal police officers of that town running along with us, drawing their goddamn weapons over some guys stealing some teddy bears. It was the craziest thing. So that was one um, interesting story. And there's one other one I guess I'll go in with. But like the thing is, like with like the Carny life, like there's like a tier of you don't talk, you don't do this, you don't talk to this person, you don't like this person has all the respect. They've been here long enough. They've earned their money. It's like it's like a goddamn gang of who's in the higher position or the Carny mafia. Like it's really intense, and people don't fall in line. They get taken care of. Like in the military, we talk about sock parties, right? And the same thing would happen if you didn't go with the flow. You didn't like go about those things. You got a couple fair warnings of brutal violence taken out, and you got your ass beat if you didn't, do the right thing. In the same town, so this is after this situation, same town. They had warned us not to go over the railroad tracks, right? Well, I met this girl that was, super good looking, great girl, and she lived across these railroad tracks, right? So I got talking to her and whatnot, and I was one of the only people at that time that had a car. So I drove my little Dodge Neon with the caravan of the Carnies during that time period. So I was one of the only people that, like, if we, at the end of the night, when everything was done, if we needed to travel somewhere or to go to a party or something like that, I had a car. So a handful of my friends in the carnival, they used a lot of meth. Like methamphetamine was going rapid at this point in time, right? So they didn't have any at the time, and they had met some guys that came through that worked with that were locals, and they offered them some, So they're like, "Hey, Jay, I know you don't, because I did not use I smoked weed, but there's never I never went that far into my drug life at that point in time. But they're like, hey, we need a ride. I'm like, okay, where do you need a ride to? They're like, onto the reservation, and I'm like, yo, like, come on now, we just went through what we went through last night with these fucking buffoon cops and like people stealing like stupid shit. I was like, yo, I thought the cop was gonna shoot my ass. Like he was literally willing. I backed up behind him and didn't want anything to do with us pursuing these guys after these teddy bears. He's like, but we really need the ride, and I'm like, fuck it, all right, let's do it. So we all jump in my car, drive through. We get to this, like over there, it's a lot of plains. There's not a lot of mountains, so you can see a long ways. And this is middle of the night, so we pull up to it's in a trailer park. There's a bunch of different trailer houses that are, all in a big bunch. And we get there, and I'm like looking around, and like, I got my headlights on, but I can see shadows everywhere. Like, I'm like, what the hell? So I'm like looking. This looks like a ghost town. People are walking everywhere. We're talking 20, 30 people, at least that I could like, as we're driving through this little trailer park, just walking around, not really talking. You don't really hear much. And I'm like super weirded out by this, right? But we're on the other side. We're exactly where the police officer said, do not go. We find y'all dead on the other side all the time because we don't have jurisdiction over it. So we pull up to this house. I'm slightly freaking out. I'm like, yo, dude, I'm looking around like, dude, there's people walking around like all over. Like this looks like a damn town. We're inside of a small trailer park. Like there's a lot of trailers, probably, I don't know, 20, 30 of these damn things, but there's people as far as I could see going through shadows, going through how I've seen, a little bit of lit lights in some people's trailer houses. Like there's people walking everywhere. So I'm like, all right. So we pull up to this house, and I just drop my seat back all the way. So I'm just laying back all the way down so no one can see that I'm in this damn car. Those two get out. They're going to, go get the stuff, right? So they go in, and I'm like just laying there trying to just keep my eyes closed. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. And I wasn't, at that point in time, I wasn't super familiar with how meth addicts work, how they operate, how they are like when you go 6, 7, 8, however long they go without sleep. I wasn't very familiar with that. I wasn't comfortable with that. Wasn't familiar to me. So I'm laying in the seat. The guy that it was a couple that I took to go get this stuff. The guy is waving me in through the door, and I'm like, no, I peek my head out. No, I'm not coming in. I'm not coming in. He's like, no, you have to come in. I was like, shit. All right. So I get out. I go inside the door, right? And as I get in the door, he's at the door waiting for me. There's a guy. I'm assuming the guy that the dealer, the guy they're getting this stuff from. Dude is straight talking gibberish as fast as he can, like talking like, but he is talking so fast. Not English, not any. I swear, it's not any language that doesn't exist. This guy has been up for a super long period of time, but he is talking straight gibberish as can be, right? This house that we were in, it's like, I don't know how familiar with trailer parks. Some trailer parks have actual like houses inside of them. This place had a little basement, right? Anyways, so we go downstairs. There's set up like punching bags, right? Like punching bags. They have like, those little like throwing stars you can get, and like you can throw, and people practice do that. There's punching bags set up with throwing stars in them, right? There's another room with just junk in it, and then there's another room with a bunch of fish tanks, right? And this is before I didn't know how people made meth, right? There's a bunch of fish tanks in these other rooms and strings dangling from them, and apparently this is how you collect meth, right? So we go into this other room that's past all those fish tanks, and we sit down and sit down at a table, and the walls have hatchets in them. This house is, I'm already worried and scared about just sitting outside in this situation, right? So going downstairs to do all this, I'm like, I'm getting that tingly feeling like this is not good. I mean, anyway, so we sit down, and I'm, what silent as can be, that they're talking to this guy. I don't understand a word. They're not even speaking the goddamn language. I don't understand. So they do their thing. He drops the bag on the table, right? The guy that has the house, goes upstairs. So I'm sitting here with the two people that I know, this couple, and they look at it, do this thing, and the girl, she's from Arkansas. So she got a wicked accent, so like a southern, like, anyway, her wicked accent. She looks at the stuff. She's like, oh, hell no. I was, we were like, what? He fucked me over. I was like, what do you mean? This isn't right. I need to go tell him. I need to go make this right. I was like, yo, we are the only white people, for as far as I could possibly see. Okay. We are on a reservation that we were specifically told by the police officers, do not go. And you're buying a bunch of meth. Okay. So you're telling me that you think it's a very wise decision that you're going to go argue with this guy right now that he shorted you? Oh yeah, we're going to do it. Blah, blah. So dude comes downstairs. She starts bitching and complaining, all this shit. He goes upstairs. Shit, you're not. 45 seconds later, sounds like a stampede upstairs. I don't know if everyone in the goddamn neighborhood decided they were going to barge into this house, but you could hear everything. So I thought I was going to die or something like that. Honestly, we were in this house is disgusting, decrepit, throwing stars. You got hatchets, you got fish tanks all over of fucking meth being like collected and made or whatever the hell you do. And she has the audacity to complain. Sounds like, once again, stampede upstairs. There's numerous upon numerous people now in this house. The gentleman and I, his girlfriend and I, are both like, shit, like, what do we do? Like now, like she's pissed him off. Now he's got all of his friends here. They're all, so on and so forth. Anyways, I don't know what the woman did. She was well endowed, so I don't know if she showed this gentleman some things he wanted to see and then carried on, but we ended up actually leaving that house safe and got back, and never did I return across those lines again. But that situation, just telling the story, does not do any justice to the feelings in that moment.
No, man, you sum that up quite well, because it looked like there's times in interviews where I think it was Facility said it. No, it was during Facility's interview. If you haven't watched his episode, I highly recommend you do, because he's had a pretty interesting life as well. But someone commented and they said, I don't think I've ever seen Boydie this quiet. And it's literally like, that's just, I've had similar, not to that extent. My stupid thing was doing a money change in Mombasa, Kenya. I needed to change some US dollars for the local currency. And whenever you're in those sorts of countries, you end up with a local will hang on and take care of all your needs in that. And he goes, oh, you need to change money? Come with me. And I left the civilized area of Mombasa, the tourist area, and went down to this bar, and it was just a sea of black. And I was dumb as dog shit back then. Yeah, young. I was 19 as well. Yeah, 19. Yep, I was only 19 then. And he tells me, "Yep, just wait here." So I'm standing outside the bar, and he's inside. And it was like an open front bar, and there's all these black Kenyan guys just staring at me, and I'm just looking at him, just thinking, "What the fuck is going on?" And then he comes out and he goes, "Okay, the guy is coming to do the money." And this London cab fucking thing pulls up, and I get waved into the back, and I'm like, "Are you coming?" He goes, "No, no, no, it's just you and him." And I'm like, "Oh man, where the fuck is this?" But I still got in. I still got in. And sitting across from me was this guy who looked like he was out of a fucking video clip for a fucking rap song or something. Big fat black guy looking like Pimp Daddy, had the cap on, had the cane, and I just started laughing. I couldn't help myself. I was just laughing at the absurdity of the situation. Money exchange went perfect. But I look back at it now and I go, boy, you could have just been fucking found dead in a back street of fucking Mombasa, brother. Why were you so stupid? Why were you so stupid? And I did other stupid shit on those 3 days off as well, but it's hard to really convey just how dangerous some situations you end up in. But yeah, like that's absolutely fucking insane, man. And how long did you stay with the Carny life for?
I did it. I went all the way to Texas with them. So from you guys are familiar with the geography here in the
Well, Montana's
state,
kind of in the center
and
top,
yeah. So
and you made it all the way down.
I went from southern Canada, so to speak, all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, all the way down there with that carnival.
Sorry. No, 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 no.
Oh yeah, Gulf America now. Gulf America now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for rolling your eyes. Thank you for rolling your eyes.
Yeah. Anyways, so we did that, and then my so previous to me leaving to be a carny, I was dating or seeing the woman who would end up being my wife and the mother of all 5 of my children. When I got to the last shop, her and I kind of split up. I was really scared of being a father, right? So going through some of the things we talked about and whatnot, like I was death scared of being
kind of understandable, mate, with the experience you've had.
Yeah, and being that young, so it's like, and going through and getting that if those offenses on my record, like holy shit, I can't.
Probably thinking you're a bit of a deadbeat and you're not going to be a good dad and all that. Like, I'm sorry if that's a bit direct, but I'm trying to guess. That's probably what you were thinking. It was like, fuck me, man. Can anything get worse? I'm going to have a kid, and I've got felonies, and I'm working as a carny, and this is I totally get it.
It was nothing to write home about, and it was nothing that I felt, proud to be like, oh yeah, are you gonna tell your kid that what you were doing just prior to him being born? Not that. But anyway, so last show I had to save a bunch of money. I wanted to get back in time for the birth of my first son. So I had banked all the money I possibly could, and
no parents to steal at this time.
What's that?
No parents to steal at this time.
Nope, nothing. No. So what I did is just saved up a bunch of money and got a bus ride back, and took the Greyhound is what we call it here, the Greyhound bus system back all the way up. I missed my son's birth by a month. I got back in November. He was born September. I got back early October. Just got back, and then I had to kind of it's a big swing to go from living like that for 9 months, as being a carny to go back to just living a normal. Oh, yep, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to do it's kind of a shock to the system. Like you were always worried about something. You were worried about cockroaches, right? Those things you sleep in. You had to be okay sleeping with cockroaches. Okay, like they were all over. If you didn't, you could just stay awake. They ain't going anywhere. So it was a big change to get used to. Oh, I can sleep in a bed now, and there's not going to be any bugs. I don't got to worry about.
Were you able to gather much money during that time?
Yeah, I mean, I gathered enough to get my ticket, and I did really. So that's the other thing. Like as a carny, I did really well. Like I did. Like if I would have, if my dreams were aligned different, I could have stayed and became a tub agent, right? And I did really well. I made a good money. I was really in good with the owner. Um, Everything was great. I mean, it's funny. A year ago, right? So a year ago, I was taking my youngest son, who's 3 now. He's about to be 4. I was taking him to the local carnival here. It's in our big parking lot, and I took him over to put him on the merry-go-round and the Ferris wheel, stuff like that. And I recognized some of the like a tire and like some of the flags from the carnival, and I was like, I went over to one of the game guys, game jocks. I was like, hey, who owns this? And he said, sure shit, said the name of the guy that owned it back in that time period. I was like, is he around? So last year, the guy that owned it, I shook his hand. Now, fucking 15, 16 years later, shook his hand, and he's like, wow, I kind of recognize you. I was like, taught me a lot. I just want you to know that. But I see you, and off we go, and walked off with my son. So that was actually kind of interesting to have that go all the way back. But so at the time, I ended up saving us some money. My girlfriend, who's mother of my children, had a like low subsidized housing. So we had to like do some lying and say that I didn't live there, because if too many people live there, you couldn't, that was a rule. So I had to park. It was funny. So so we get there, my son's firstborn. I'm, wow, this was a big jolt to my system. Like, I've been looking forward to this, and I saved up money and, did something that I said I was going to do, come back, because you get lost into doing some crazy stuff, and the adrenaline pumping all the time, doing like Carny life, and previous to that, going to jail, and then just before that, you're in the basic trade, you're doing everything. Your adrenaline is constantly pumping with a lot
You
of those
pumped
things.
a hell of a lot into the first few years of your adult life.
Exactly. So the settle down portion, right? So I was really excited to do it. I got a job at a like a quick lube oil change. So I liked working on cars. I always did with my dad, and that was the job that I would later have for quite a deal of time, and work my way up through that's the job I ended up being area manager for the whole state of Colorado. We talked about was through quick lubes. So I get back, get the job there, and just slowly start kind of building my life. My girlfriend at the time, we ended up getting married. We have so what go back to one other story. So when I first got that job at the quick lube place, right, I had to park in a different parking lot. I had to park in the parking lot of a hotel next to where the townhouses that she lived was, because they would monitor how many cars were like there, because they were really big on what we were doing, kind of trying to utilize the financial system to still only have her income, but then have me live there. And we're a family, so we don't have a lot of money, so we're doing the best we can. But for me to be there, I had to park somewhere else. So I would always have to, when I would go to my car, I'd have to walk around the fence, right? Well, I had this interview for this job at the quick lube place, and I was like, I really need to do this. I need to be responsible. I can't just be doing random oddball jobs. I need something where I have a paycheck every Friday. So I have this interview. I get recommended by someone that I was in the guard with. So this is like, I'm very excited about this job. Like, got to get it, got everything. I got my son. I need to do this. I wake up a little late on the day of my interview, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, shit. So instead of me, I'm getting all my clothes on as I'm walking out the door. Instead of me walking around the fence, I jumped the fence. The fence, I never had jumped it. Instead of having barbed wire at the top of the chain link fence, they cut it at the crown of the next chain link. So they across the entire top of this fence is just V spikes, right? Of fence. I run. I'm not thinking at all. I'm just need to get to this interview. I'm already a little bit late. I can get there in time, and hopefully I can talk my way out of it. I go to jump the fence. I puncture both of my hands as I'm pushing my body up. So I'm bleeding profusely from my hands. I'm talking a chain link fence, decent size, chunk of steel, both punctured both of my hands. So I got 2 holes in each hand. Going to my car, get in the car, get into the interview, and I get there, and the manager's like, you're late. The guy's supposed to interview. He's like, you're late. And I was like, I lifted up my hands. I was like, I'm not saying I have a very good excuse, for being late to this interview, but I want to tell you right now, I went through a lot to get here, just to get here a little bit late. Please just at least give me the interview. Let me talk to you. Let me tell you my story. Let me do this interview. I I promise you will not be disappointed. He looks at me and he's like, what in the hell? I got blood dripping. Like, it's all dried up, now it looks disgusting. He's like, get into the damn bathroom. You're telling me that story though. Later, this guy would end up being later he would end up being a super good friend of mine. We'd do some crazy shit together. I was his right hand. He's part of what helped me get promoted as fast as I did through the ranks there to become an area manager, and taught me a lot. But yeah, he was a Viking fan for talking about
Kind of a
NFL.
bit of your pursuit of happiness moment.
Yeah, no, it's exactly. Yeah, I'm just trying to run, get there. I just lucked out that the guy had a sense of humor, and the guy like had a nag for like. The guy was crazy, but super cool, laid back. One of the best bosses I ever had. Like super funny, like give you shit all the time, and like made it a joy to be at work. But yeah,
Yep.
like as I'm going in there scared, like, oh shit, okay, fine. He's giving me a chance. I can go wash my hands. He's like, don't forget, you're gonna tell me that story why you just came in like that. So with a smile on his face, So yeah, that I ended up working for that company or a company just like it the next 12 years of my life.
That's insane. Like, mate, you still turned up to the interview though. That says a lot about you.
Well, I had to, right? So like that's my thing is that like going through the military, going through all this stuff, I would never give up. I can't give up. If I gave up, I would have been left to go perish with, these meth addicts. I would have dwelled in my sorrow and stayed in that. I was super depressed when I couldn't put that uniform on anymore. When I couldn't wear my, my army, my army, it's the same uniform as the army. So like when I couldn't put that, I took a lot of pride in what I did. So I was ashamed. I would not. I told my ex, I was like, I can't put this. I don't belong in this uniform anymore. I don't belong here. Like I did something so. I was like, this is my dream. I did so well like in this starting phase of the military. I was so happy. Like finally found a place, and then I fucked it up. So like I was very hard on myself for multiple years,
And to find out they
beyond.
get deployed as well. Shortly
And
after.
well, that hurt me even more. Like those are the guys I just trained with, those guys I worked with, and they got to go and I didn't. If I went to fucked up, I'd have been there with them. Like, yeah, it was. I was so. I didn't think much of myself for a long period of time after that because I was so ashamed of. You failed, and I don't like to fail. Like that's not in my vocabulary. You don't. You have some rough times. You've gone through stuff, but you've always came out on top. Every time these horrible things have either by your choices or have happened to you. So that wasn't acceptable. And yeah, like I mean that
Now
interview showing.
Now we're leading up to when your ex-wife left you.
Yeah. So I do this job. I was just a regular, employee at this quick lube place. Slowly worked up to the assistant manager over some time. And then after that, I did really well. I did super good. I was great at training employees. I was great at doing all this stuff, inventory wise and selling and whatnot. I did really, really well. So I got promoted eventually to the manager of the store that I started at, which was a big feat for me. I was like, yeah, okay, all right. I told because not too long after I got hired, I told my boss, like, cause the way since he was, I was like, I'm gonna take your job one of these days. It's not gonna be long, but I'm gonna take your job. Sure enough, I did. But so I ended up managing two of those stores in the same town that I lived in. One was on one side of town, one was on the other. I ended up getting to the point I managed both of them at the same time. So I was managing both locations. I was doing a great job. So after X amount of time, the position for an area manager came up, and that area manager managed all the stores in that region. So this is the next big promotion, right? Like I'm already doing a good job. I'm turning my life around. I have a full-time job. I have a somewhat respectable one. I work on cars. It's not like I'm a full mechanic or anything like that, but the quick lube, I manage the place. I manage all these guys. I hire. I do all the interviews. I'm feeling really good about myself. I want this position as an area manager. I want to extend my role. So I was up against another
How
guy.
How many kids have you got now?
So at this time, I had two. I had my oldest son, and then I had my daughter, who's 12 now. Go on, guys. So I had two kids. So we're running along doing the family thing. Having kids. Going to work. My wife now at the time was a stay-at-home mom. Oh, that's funny. So I was when my wife and I got married, right? we didn't have a lot of money, so the dress that she wore for our little makeshift wedding we did, the way that we got to take the people out that were as a sign of respect to the people that came to witness us getting married, we did the whole like basically go to the courthouse and get married thing. We returned the dress that she wore for her wedding, returned it back to the clothing store, so we had enough money to go out to eat later that night. So that's the kind of yeah,
Wow.
it's a good story. But anyways, yeah, so that
You
position
do
came
what you
up.
got to. You do what you got to.
No, there's no, we're humble. Like, you got to be humble
What
sometimes.
did you wear?
What did I wear? I wore a button-up shirt without even a tie.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just yeah. So we were so head over heels in love. This is like the first love of my life. Her and I actually, when I first moved to Minnesota, we went to back when I was 11 years old when we first moved here. I went to daycare with her back then, so we'd have known of who each other were back all the way to that portion. Anyway, so interview comes up. They're like, okay, it's you and it's this other guy, the two guys that we're considering for the position of the area manager for this company. And at that time, I was 23, maybe, so I'm still quite young. And the other gentleman that was my competition for this interview, he's in his 30s already, right? So he's established, been with the company for a long time, and he's older. This would play a key part in this. So we do the interviews. The owner of the company comes to the store that I was working at and that I managed, and he pulled me aside. He's like, "We've decided to go with the other gentleman for the job. I know, you are just as deserving as him." He's like, "But my issue, as the owner of this company, is your age. Like, it's, he's you would be managing most of the people you would be managing, and the managers of all these stores that you would be overseeing, these managers as the area manager, they're all substantially older than you. So to gain respect from people when you're younger than them, it's a very difficult thing." I took this once again with like a chip on my shoulder. So I didn't agree with it. I thought I did good. I got a lot of respect from my peers, but whatever, right? But he gave me the option to seek a position, that same position, in another company. He says, "Hey, you deserve it. I just couldn't give it to you. So I will give you my recommendation. I will give you a list of other franchises you could possibly call to see about you getting this position." He's like, "But he was high up in like the corporate like marketing committees and stuff like that. So his recommendation did pull weight." So um, I call up a random store in Montana. I think it was in like Billings, Montana, and I called him up and said, "Hey, can I talk to your manager?" And then, I was going to work my way up to getting the number for their main office and talk to the manager. And he's like, I asked him, "What's the number to the main office? I just want to, give them a chat. It's an employment, thing." And he goes, "What? You just want to talk to the owner?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, the owner is actually standing. The owner of all of our stores is standing right next to me." And I'm like, "Sure, hell yeah, let me talk to him." What the hell? I didn't know that was going to be the case. So I talked to this owner and bullshit with him, and he's like, "You're exactly what I'm looking for." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Well, the position that we're in and how fast we're growing, I don't have an area manager yet. And the corporate side of this will not let me grow until I have an area manager. So go through all the hiring process, all this." He's like, I was trying to get back to Montana. So I still had family. And he's like, "Well, I don't want you to live in Montana and manage those stores." He's like, "How do you feel about Colorado?" Lights shine, right? I'm like, I've been a Denver Bronco fan my entire life, which is for the NFL, National Football League, not soccer, football, but football league, and I'm really into Colorado sports, and they had just made weed legal in Colorado that year. Okay, so that was 2014. They had just made weed legal in Colorado. So I already smoke weed and all this stuff. So my eyes are shining. I'm like, I'm trying not to let this guy know how excited I am that he just said, "How about Colorado?" So I'm in Minnesota. So time goes by. They send me a business card. Says, "Hey, put your all the moving expenses on it. Put all the food for your family. Put your first month's rent on it." He's like, "Everything. We're paying full paid setup to move you and your family all the way out to Colorado." So I've like hit the jackpot, right? So going through all these times, like I'm so excited. Like things are finally, bigger things are happening for my family. My family's growing. I think my wife at the time was pregnant with our third child at the time as well. So, we're super excited. We're about to go to Colorado. Both of us weed. We're from poor Minnesota. Colorado's a nice, like, more upper class, so to speak, state. Like, so many other cool things there. We love hiking and doing all that stuff, and the weather's a little bit different. So we're super excited. So we do make the move, um, move across. I recruit my mom at the time to ride with my wife while I drive the U-Haul, so my mom could take care of the kids, so we can drive straight through. Basically, we're trying to get there as quick as possible. So we get everything set up, and I go in to sit down. We get there. I go to sit down in the main office for that company, and I'm sitting in the lobby, and the receptionist is there. She's like, "Oh, hey, what can I do for you?" And I tell her my name and who I am, and she kind of gives me a side eye a little bit. Like, I recognized it, but I didn't know why. She's like, "Okay, well, I'll let him know you're here because I'm, going to meet my new boss, right? The owner of the company. I'm the area manager. There's nothing above that in the company so far, so I'm next in line, so to speak." And I'm sitting there, and I'm waiting forever. This guy walks in finally, and I'm like, "Oh," and this guy's not much older than me. And I'm like, "I can't be the owner, right?" Another gentleman walks in, and I looked, and I was like, "Oh, this must be father and son." Like, okay, they breeze right by me, like walk right by me, like I never existed. I'm like, "Okay." And the receptionist kind of chuckled. She's like, "Hold on, I'll let them know who you are. They weren't expecting you." I'm like, "Me? They weren't expecting me? What the hell are you talking about?" So she goes in, tells them. Owner comes out, shakes my hand, and he's like, "So you're who I've been talking to the whole time?" Like, we never even did a video call. This guy, we did a talks on the phone, and he sent me a company credit card, moved my entire family from Minnesota to Colorado without even seeing what I look like. He didn't much research about how old I was. So another thing where age comes in, he shakes my hand. He's like, "Come in my office." Come in his office, and this guy's a very, like, strong egoed, like, gentleman, right? You can see that right away. He looks good, and pulls me in. He's like, "Can I be frank with you?" I'm like, "Permission to speak freely, but man, do your thing. What do you mean?" He's like, "I'm gonna tell you right now, I would have never hired you if I knew how old you were." I was like, you know, fuck. Okay, I was like, "Well, I'm here," and he's like, "Yep, you're here, so you have a lot of proving to do." And I'm like, "Let's do it, man. All right." He's like, "Well, I'm not going to give you the position right away." I'm like, "Whoa, what do you mean?" "Well, I did not expect you to be so young. My son's older than you." I was like, and I was like, I was like, "Well, permission for me to speak freely then? Why is my age such a crutch here?" He's like, "You have to gain the respect from people that are older than you, and they're not going to want to listen to you. Plain and simple. They've been doing this longer than you. You've only been alive for this long. They've been doing it longer." And I'm like, "But give me the opportunity." He's like, "I'm going to give it to you." He's like, "So you're going to manage my busiest store. I want you to manage it for a year." I was like, "Well, we got to talk about the salary then, because the salary I was told is not going to be probably the same as if I'm managing one store." He's like, "I'll work that out. I'll get it about the same." I did agree to that. Like, I will honor my word. Like, thank you. So I go and manage the store, and I'm very, like, militant at this time. That's what got me through so fast through this thing, is I'm very strict good, but I have a good relationship with my guys. So I walk into this store, and the current manager there is in shorts, right? Wearing shorts at a car play. I'm like, "Oh, shit." So I changed, we're not wearing shorts, guys. You gotta wear pants. We gotta look professional. I don't know what the hell you're doing wearing shorts. Anyway, so I managed that store for 6 months. The owner comes, he's like, "Dude, you're doing phenomenal. You smashed just in this time period. You're projected to go the sales wise in the store, and the little claims that you've had." He's like, "You're doing great. We're putting you in that position." So I get the area manager position, and my third daughter is just born, and we're really tight knit as a family. Right? We're my wife, we're like living this, like, fairy tale now compared to how she grew up in a very similar situation as me. Didn't have her dad around, and so we're both like, "Holy shit, we finally made it. We're gonna change the tide. Our family's gonna be good. You're gonna have this, like, you know great job." And we're a fairy tale living in Colorado. Well, we were very tight, right? Well, me taking on now this manager role, I'm gone all fucking time. I'm not only the area manager for 8 stores throughout the entire state of Colorado, I'm also the franchise trainer. So on top of that, I'm going through a new acquisitions, because this company was growing like crazy. We were buying new fucking stores every 4 months, if not even sooner, sometimes more than one at a time. So I'm managing all 8 of these stores. Like, all the managers answer to me. I do all the final interviews for these guys. So I'm constantly there all the time, right? Like, I have to do final interviews for them if they find someone that they want to hire for any level of position. and that's what the owner wanted. So I'm going across everywhere. At one point in time, I spent like 5 weeks in not Wisconsin, Wyoming, because we just acquired a massive store. And he's like, I want you to go in and you're firing everyone. You need to hire a whole new crew. You need to train a manager and then you can come home. And I'm like, I talked to my boss. I'm like, the owner. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, Doc? Like, I have 3 kids. I don't think my wife was quite yet pregnant again with our soon to be 4th child, but I was like, what you're asking me to do is to be gone for like 5, 6. I might be gone for a couple months just with this acquisition you're talking about. You're telling me right now I have to go in and fire everyone, maintain the customers that we have, because now you just took out everyone that they trusted or that they knew in this ma pa shop that you just bought that they've been going to for years. I get to fire everyone, rehire a new crew, but it's a massive store. There's like 4 bays for people to come in at one time. Like, okay. Well, anyways, I ended up being so I'm in Wyoming. And so going back to like growing up like that and getting a good job,
How's your burnout factor at the moment?
At that time,
Yeah.
super burnt out, but I don't give up. I have that from going through those hard times. I have that military aspect of the indomitable spirit. I don't care. I was doing very well. I wasn't sleeping much because I had to do a lot, but I was at that point in time, I got so used to running burnt out. That was how it was. There wasn't oh, Jay, you're burnt out. I don't know what that is. I just work. 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 And
were you
leading to
doing
that,
anything for yourself, like any hobbies or anything like that at that time, or it was just work?
No, just work. So work was my hobby at that time. I got so engulfed in what I was doing that it was every aspect of what I was doing, everything. And it got to my head a little bit, right? So I was being really successful at that, right? I was getting praise from my bosses. I was getting praise from everyone. It didn't come to light to me of the praise I wasn't receiving from my wife, right? She was lonely. She was taking care of 3 kids by herself at this time. One's a newborn. All the kids are young. Like our first 3 children are 2 years apart. So sure, you got a newborn, but then you got a 4-year-old, you got a 2-year-old, and a newborn. These are age frames age time periods where it requires a lot of attention for all of them, right? 4-year-old, 2-year-old, newborn. Like, holy shit! Yeah, as a couple, as a mom and dad in that situation, they would both be stressed out, right? Now she's doing that all by herself. She's not sleeping either. She's not getting any relief whatsoever. We just moved to a state where we have no relatives. So there's no mom to call, grandma or anyone to come help relieve the kids. I let this whole situation go to my head. I think I'm king shit on Turd Island, right? I think, I've done this. I'm so successful. I let it get to my head, right? And I ended up being unfaithful to my wife while I was in Wyoming. I came back for a visit for a weekend because I was gone so long. And the boss was like, "Well, go see your family," And when I get back, she went through my phone and revealed this, and that was a huge. She was devastated, right, and rightfully so. And I was so egotistical, so set up. I didn't think it should mean anything. I'm the one providing. I'm the one doing this. I was so blind. I was so blind to like everything that like she had going on, and I walked out on her. I looking back on it now, it's one of the most. It's the most. Talk about being ashamed of yourself. That was one of the biggest times ever. Is this woman like when I was back home, she would make lunch for me. She would pull up to even with the younger kids when I was managing the stores locally. She would pull up, bring me lunch. Make me one of my favorite lunches all the time. She would she'd be waiting in lingerie when I got off of work to be like, you worked really hard, and like she was like literally the very best person in my life at the time. And such a just a great person. Great wife, great mother, great partner, great friend. I've known her since I was 10 years old, going to daycare with her. Like she did everything correctly. I let it go to my head thinking that I was better than what I was, that I could just do whatever I want. No one could say anything to me about it because I'm making the money. I'm being so successful at my job, and I fucked up bad. Like
this is an interesting topic you brought up here with the whole, the man, the provider, The wife, sounds like quite, what they would call now a trad wife, staying at home, raising the kids, running the household, and all the rest of it. And it sounds like, as great as it was that you were achieving so much, you achieved it too quickly to be able to fully appreciate the responsibilities you had. And you see the same with a lot of the your sports stars, the young sports stars. They've got all this money, all this success, gets their head, and they always end up doing something fucking stupid. There's very few of them who are based and who are respecting their mum, waiting for that right girl and making it. It's another unfortunate thing of what happens when you go through, and because you've not got that support network surrounding you of friends, family, and even just a stable upbringing. You're probably living fucking life large.
Yep.
There's a bit of arrogance there. Like, look at me, mum. I'm the king. And a girl looks at you the wrong way, because you ended up doing something wrong, and it gets to your fucking head. I was no angel myself when I was a young guy before I met my missus. I betrayed so many fucking girlfriends because I was young, dumb, and full of cum, and did so many fucking stupid, terrible things. Like, don't beat yourself up though, man. It's all that's made you to where you are. I saw you roll your eyes then. I saw you roll your eyes.
Yeah, because, I mean, now fast forward to now, right? Like, even from that time period on, I've went through some even more horrible things than even what we've talked about. And, like, looking back,
well, your wife ended up leaving you, didn't she?
Yeah, well, she ended up leaving me, but then we went through a numerous year stage of, let's try again. And then with that degree of mistrust that happened, neither of us could trust each other, right? So we ended up making matters so much worse by continuing to try. But we both had this like love for our children and wanted our children to have both parents in the household. And it turned out we'd fight all the time and it would be miserable for the kids and, so on and so forth. And it got to the point to where she lived separate in Colorado. I lived in another place. And then it got to the point where she wanted to go back home and she went to Minnesota. She went back to Minnesota. So I was in Colorado by myself. Guess we're getting a little bit heavy. But yeah, she ended up leaving me. And then I kind of maxed out what I could do in that position because I stayed in that position when she left. And I got to the point where I had another job opportunity. The owner of that company ended up, telling me, hey, you're maxed out. You're achieving great. You're doing great. Every single year you have worked here, you have not only set a record for sales and for the least amount of claims. Like, I'm making the most amount of money with you here. It's not even funny. He's like, but not only that, you're beating your own record every year. Like, there's like plaques in some of these stores. So eventually I didn't want to be an area manager anymore. So I told the owner, I need to step back. I need to just manage a store. I can't be the area manager. I'll train an area manager for you, another person in my position. I was like, but I need to step back. I can't do anything in my life. Like, this job's super demanding. You're always driving. You got to be on one side of the state to the other.
How old were you when you made this decision?
I was, 14 is when we moved there. About 27, 28 when I made this decision.
You're starting to mature. And that's actually a pretty impressive thing that not a lot of people would be comfortable doing. A lot of people would just burn out. And the fact that you are starting to realize that your success has become your Achilles heels, for want of a better way to put it, and you've realized it, and rather than just, well, I'll just keep it fucking going until everything crashes down around me, because you can just imagine what sort of train wreck it could have been if you just kept on going. You've said, I need to step back. I need some breathing space and just to slow down a bit and a bit of time to think about. So that's actually a really, really impressive decision you made doing that.
It was hard. It was a hit to the pride, right?
Been.
Like,
would have been.
Hit to the pride, that got me. my thought
Because there
process
would have
while
been a
being
pay
through
cut
it,
with that as well. And
yeah, there was everything. It was super demoralizing, honestly, to do that, but I had to. I didn't just like you said, I could see a glimpse of what could have been and would have led to worse things. So I asked to be, demoted. Said I want to take a demotion. I'll train the new guy, do whatever. And he's like, I understand. He's like, I have no idea how you've gone this hard, this long, this far. I I envy you, but I agree with your your what you've asked us,
decision.
your decision. I agree with it. So you pick your store. It's like you pick whatever store you want. You manage it. He's like, you can imagine I have a couple that I would like you to be at. So I went to our toughest market, which is up in the mountains, in Colorado. Um, high resort towns, big ski resorts, like very high dollar. So I picked there because I really liked the area when I got to spend time there. And so once I
What was
did
the
that
cost of
demotion,
living like there, though?
it was at that time for a 2-bedroom apartment. This is not a house. 2-bedroom apartment. It was $1,600 a month.
Jeez.
Very expensive. So, but the pay there was scaled in a way that you could still barely get by, right? I mean, so after I decided to do this, my wife at the time says, let's try again. Seems like so she moves back to Colorado. Um, we all live together in another house. I'm just managing one store, so I'm able to be home all the time and whatnot, all this. And we're store's doing great, everything's doing phenomenal. But at home wasn't phenomenal. Like I was there more often. It was almost a bad thing. Once again, after in a marriage, after someone does something so dreadful as what I did, just walking out on our marriage and her being this perfect. I'm not gonna like seriously. Before I made that horrible decision, she was like literally the most perfect wife any man could ever have wanted to raise their kids, to take care of them. Like I said, she bring me lunches. She would be sitting in lingerie when I got home, be like, "Oh, you had a rough day, let's go to the bedroom." And it's like she would do those things. I wouldn't ask for any of them. Like she would know, like she was phenomenal. But once that happened, once I betrayed her trust in that way, it was never the same. And when we tried it every time, it was to no avail. We would keep trying, keep trying. When you can't have the fundamental thing in a relationship, which is trust, it will crumble. You need a solid foundation to build like Jenga, the damn game where you pull the one stick out and you keep stacking and stacking. If you don't have a solid foundation, that tower will crumble no matter what, every single time. So we couldn't establish that and get that back. So she ended up leaving abruptly back to Minnesota after we were together. So this would be right around, so right when I made that decision. So I was about 28, and we did that for a little bit, and she abruptly left. Didn't really give me a notice or anything. Just left. I found out that um, she had asked me to take our van, right? Because we had a van because of the kids we had. We had 4 kids at this time. Um, I took the van to work, and I was like, kind of weird, but whatever. She's like, yeah, do the oil change, on it and do stuff like that. And I had a different vehicle that I drove, and I got back after work, and everyone's gone. Vehicle's gone, kids are gone, house is half stripped down, and I'm like, what in the hell just happened? So I call her and I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I had to leave. She's like, I can't do this with you. I can't you didn't necessarily do anything wrong this time, but I can't do this. I can't trust you. I'm in my head all the time. I'm constantly thinking you're always doing something, do this, that. I can't do it. I'm going back to be with my family back in Minnesota. So, but at this time, um, I'm devastated, but I'm almost getting used to like us, kind of like being like this because it's been like this for a few years after we've kept trying again. So as I work one day and one of my regular customers comes in and she's like, "How do you like your job?" At this point in time, I'm frustrated, right? I just demoted myself to do this to be with my family. That didn't work out. My wife just literally just left last week without me even knowing. I'm going through a lot. And she's like, I was like, permission to speak freely, that's always been my thing. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, I can't stand my job. I need to get something new. I need to change something so that I can see a positive in something. I don't see a positive in anything right now. There's not much good going on. She's like, well, my husband needs a diesel mechanic for his business. And I'm like, I'm not a diesel mechanic. She's like, no. She's like, but I've been coming here for many, many years, and your character you're the type of person that I know will be the right person if trained properly. She's like, you have what it takes to do it. I was like, okay. And this actually came with a substantial pay increase for that. So I go do the interview with her husband. It's a MAPA organization that is excavation company and a trash company, right? So they're owned by the same people. And do the interview, and the guy's like, well, my wife was right. Like, great guy. I think we can do this. So I already knew a bunch about cars. So there was this, I call him now the Yoda of diesel, right? So this guy has been around forever. He's in his 80s, like knows everything. He takes a hose, a short hose, and puts it up to the engine and puts the other end in his ear, and he's like, oh, yep, that one's running too hot. Oh, that one's missing. And I'm like, oh, like, anyway, so he's to train me for a year so I can get this down, and then they send me to school, like an online schooling for diesel, in the meantime. So I learn all that, and again, I'm super successful. I do a great job. I'm able to solve a lot of problems. I'm learning quickly. Not a lot of mistakes. Not costly ones.
Still living in that resort town?
Yep, still living in a resort town.
Mm-hmm.
But I took this is a massive pay increase. This is the most amount of money I've ever made in my life, ever. Like, I'm talking, we're very well north of $100,000 per year, right? So I'm, once again, like, but here's what's going on in the background, though, is that I still have a massive love for my children. I love being a father. It's my favorite thing in the whole wide world.
You're probably paying child support as well.
Yep, paying child support, all that, but my passion, what I really want, is to be back with my kids. But now I got this opportunity to make this much money, more money than I've ever made in my life. So I have to dig deep and say, can you go a long period of time without seeing your children, but know that the money you're able to provide them gives them a way of life that you never experienced? They can do whatever sport they want. They can stay being homeschooled. Between their mother and I, we're very huge on the homeschooling. We don't want our children in public schools. I'm not going to go into why, but you can probably imagine why. So don't want them in public school. We want them homeschooled. We want to teach them those things, but it costs a lot of money, right? If you get a single in a family, if you only have one income, it's very difficult. Like, you're competing, buying a house with people that have dual incomes, that have, it's hard, but I made enough money. Fine. So I was okay with it. I talked myself into it. Like, fine, you're going to continue. Because my goal was to go back to Minnesota then and, find a job there. But here in Minnesota, the cost of living's cheap, and guess what? You don't get paid much. And it's still like that to this day. So I decide, I'm going to stay. I have enough money. So for 3 years, I flew once a month, one weekend a month. I flew from Colorado to Minnesota to have 2.5 to 3 days with my kids once a month, to hang out with them and see them. So I was still in their lives, because it was very important to me. Of course, my upbringing. I had my real father left at 11, never came back.
How's your relationship with the mother now?
A lot better. That we are co-parenting and not together. We were,
yep.
Exactly. So a lot better, but we're still, so that's the thing, though, when you're together that long, and that was like your ride or die person for so long, like, you still flirt, you still like have like those little nuanced things that are still habitual even to this day. Like, we don't, like, I really respect the guy that she's with, but there's, we still to this day, there's that, like, once upon a time, you were someone that I loved beyond anything, right? There's still that feeling. Yeah. Once upon a time, that still was the case. So, so I'm flying back and forth, working this job. I end up getting another job. And then this is where, going across the screen, the mountain biking comes into play. I work for this company, and I ended up buying a bike because I was in Colorado, and I had more time on my hands now with not being an area manager. I was a diesel mechanic on like a basically 9 to 5, job, no weekends at all unless emergency comes up. So I had a little bit of time on my hands, and I was seeing my kids. I was flying out one weekend a month, but I still had many weekends and times after work. So I bought a bike, and I was like, man, I want to get really into this, like, downhill mountain biking. Looks great. I need that adrenaline, Phil, because I'm still like addicted to that. Like, even to this day, like, I need something to get me pumping, to get me going. That either that risk of you're gonna crash, you're gonna hurt yourself, or like that's what it turned in with mountain biking. and I
Well,
got pretty
it's a
serious
lot
into
better
it.
than crossing the tracks into fucking reservation territory.
Amen. Yes, this is a healthy form. This is the first time I've experienced a healthy
No,
form of
no
adrenaline.
shurikens in punching bags and hatchets in walls, mate. Just
Yeah,
mountain lions, bears, and downhill gravity.
yeah, exactly. So, I get a bike and I meet this guy that's really into it already, and I get this heavy bike, right? Like, so you want a light bike when you're doing something
Yeah,
like this. I get this heavy bike, and I'm a slug going uphill, and like I really
and
like the uphill.
every single time you would have got some air and hit the ground again, or any bump, that heavy frame just would have really absorbed it all in and sent it right through your body.
Basically that, but the nice thing about so when you're doing specifically just downhill riding, you kind of want a heavy bike. You want a lot of suspension, but you want heavy. So when you hit, you stick. So like, um, yeah. So I got really into it, and I excelled really well. I was beating out these guys. Um, I was really fast downhill. I loved it. I caught onto it really quickly. I was snowboarding also at the time, and I was really vibing with a lot of those, those kind of sports. So I ended up reaching out to KTM, which I'm sure I don't know if you're familiar with it. I know the UK and Austria, they're very familiar with KTM. I reached out to KTM because they were doing a push for their mountain bike line in the States.
Just
And
I
yep,
just put the picture up of
there
you.
you go.
Uh,
So
like,
this is
I wouldn't even recognize you from that.
right. Um, so after getting into that, I reached out to KTM, and they were doing a push for the U.S. market for mountain biking, and they accepted me for a sponsorship ambassador program. So I got my first ever nice KTM, a $7,000 bike. I got it for next to nothing with what they were doing, and they were trying to push that. So that was my first ever sponsor, and that's when I started racing. And I'm doing really well. I'm doing great, and that tailed off. I did it for about a year with KTM, and they kind of pulled out of the market. Their main guy that ran that decided to move to South Africa and start a wine farm. Totally random as could be. But so that ended that sponsorship. Well, the company I worked for, the trash side, they like, hey, the guy that owned it was really into mountain biking. He really liked that I was doing it, and they're like a small ma pa company. So he's like, hey, we'll sponsor you. I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, you want me to like put your name on my jersey? Because I would do circuit races in my town and then in neighboring communities do these circuit races. And they're like, I just pitched it to him. I was like, okay, well, I'll make some jerseys, get them designed up, and I'll put your logo on it. You guys can, figure it out. This guy comes to me in a week's time, shakes my hand, gives me an envelope. He's like, well, I want to offer you a full sponsorship. I'm like, full sponsorship. He's like, here's $7,000. I'm like, oh no, sorry, $5,000. Your requirement is to do 7 races. I was like, doing what? You get? He's like, yep, here's 5,000. I'll do that every year for you as long as you do 7 races wearing that jersey. Holy shit! I'm like, what? Okay, so that's when I got serious into mountain biking with
We're
that
going to
sponsorship.
Sizzler. We're going to
Oh,
Sizzler.
yeah, I was so excited that I could, have a hobby and then have it be paid for. Right? I mean, all of it's paid for. I don't need that much more. I ended up buying some more bikes, and I got really into it. I hired a trainer, and this guy, his name's Josiah. He's in the area. For anyone that's into um oh, um shit. Where's my phone? So he's a big triathlon athlete. He's Xterra there. So the Xterra
Mhm.
triathlon events. So he is huge into them. So at Xterra triathlon, what it is, it's an off-road triathlon. So your mountain biking portion is through the mountains. Your running is on mountain trails, and your swimming portion of it is in lakes. Like it's not in a fucking pool or anything of that nature. This is the hardcore version of a triathlon. He's a 14-time world champion. Okay, I live in an area. I mean, you see my Metallica vinyl back there on the top, that red one. I live in the same town James Hetfield lives in, right? So I'm like, there's some well-established people that live in the area, right? So he lives there. I ended up recruiting him to train me, and this guy's a beast. I'm talking, you got to be an animal to be a 14-time world champion triathlon athlete. So
Or
Yeah, I
on
hired him on
drugs
his
like Lance.
Lance Armstrong, right? This guy's upbringing. No, this guy had a very rough upbringing. I got to hear a lot of his stories and got to learn a lot from him. But so I have him train me, and he has like levels of training, like intermediate, beginner, hard, and like extreme. My cocky ass, right? I'm very always been physically fit. I've always been able to exceed any expectations I had for myself in fitness categories. So I'm like, let's do extreme. I want extreme, and he kind of looks at me. He's like, "You sure?" I was like, "You ain't gonna push me any harder than any drill sergeant has." And he's kind of grins. He's like, "All right." So he puts me on these regiments, and these are brutal. Like there's this trail called Palisade Rim Trail. It's in Palisade, Colorado. I used to hike it with my kids, right? And we would go up, and we couldn't do the whole trail because the kids. Well, this trail is covered in boulders, and like you got to go around these boulders. Like just hiking up the trail is a feat. I would do stints. So what he would make me do is go up that trail a certain amount and then go back down, and then go up the trail again and do basically sprints up this trail, back and forth, back and forth. It was grueling. I did them all, did everything. I mean, I ran 5 miles every other day, and then I did the cycling, and then I did 100-mile bike rides once a month. And besides any of the races that I did, this was the training. And it got to the point I was doing my 5-mile run and get a phone call from a buddy. He's like, "Hey, you're not back yet. You're back from your run by now." I was like, I'm just gonna keep going. I ran a half marathon just because I felt like it. Like, my trainer got pissed. He's like, "You can't do that. Your race is coming up. You have to go in recovery now because you decided to run that much and whatever." So like, life was it was super good. Like I had a hobby. I had a healthy hobby now. I had making a lot of money. I was able to.
I'm noticing a trend here with you.
Hey, are you? What do you know?
You overextend.
Very much.
It's a fault. It's a
It
strength,
is.
but it's a fault. You'll push yourself, but you'll go further than you should. You don't know when enough is enough. You're
Right.
always trying to push yourself.
Correct. Yes.
And it damages you.
Yes, it does. And now the last like year and a half to 2 years of my life, I've realized that, right? I've finally come to grips with, can you maybe just be consistent with something instead of having to go like balls deep in it the whole time, and then you get so either burnt out or you get to the point to where you do like I did a lot of damage to my body.
I'm gonna put on my Papa Boyd hat here. I think this is your response to your upbringing.
Yep, you're right.
This is you constantly trying to achieve, and it's kind of a bit of a fuck you, not to your parents and so much, but to you when you were younger.
Yep, that's
You've been
what I've realized
punishing
as well.
yourself ever since you got kicked out of the military, got put into the fucking naughty boys home constantly, time and time again. And I'm really, again, and guys and girls who are watching this, I've never really spoken to Diesel before this. This is the first we've ever sat down and chatted for this long.
Yep.
But this is why I love doing these formats of interviews, and I hope you're getting some benefit from it as well, Diesel. I don't know whether you've ever gone through all of this in depth with anyone before like this, but it's been an honor and a privilege to get to listen to you be so open and sharing with everyone. And it's also great because we're seeing the evolution of you. I don't think you've achieved your final form yet. You're in that Charmander getting close to Charizard stage, but
Yeah.
you've done really well, mate. And for those of you watching who might be resonating with a lot of what he said, learn from this. Paddy said it before, very early on in the interview. So basically about just scrolling back up. Learn from your mistakes, pass on the knowledge to others, and you've succeeded so many times, but you've always had this. But it's never enough. It's never enough. I need more. I need more. You had the perfect wife. You needed more. Perfect job. You needed more. And now you kind of seem to have been reaching this stage where it's like more isn't always everything. You're getting close to that Zen state where good. This is good enough. What more do I need?
It took So there was one more crash that we were just about to get to, and that is the one that finally leveled me out to where I'm at now, to where I
This is
feel,
where you encountered the black dog.
yeah, this is where I encountered the furthest down I've ever been. So racing career is going great. You'll see a trend here, and what I'm about to share with you as well. So racing career is going great. I'm able to see my kids back and forth. I'm establishing a decent relationship with them. They have more. They're in every sport they could ever want. They're getting all
You've
these
got
great
a really
gifts.
good job, a good employer.
Yep. So here creeps back my kryptonite. Okay, so I'm making all this money. I decide to uh, lower back my racing, not doing as much racing, not doing as much training, and I decide to get more, I want more money. So I get 2 more jobs. So I'm a diesel mechanic full time. I got a job at a bar to be a server, and then I got a job at another bar to be a bartender. So I was working, okay, a day off for me.
Why? Was it just the
um,
money, or was it?
it was just money, but I'll get to it here in a second, I guess. So it was money, 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 and the group of people that I got in with in recent times in this time period. So got in with a different group of friends than I was normally with. I got into the bar crowd a lot. I wasn't in the bar when I was training. When I was racing, I was never in a bar. You don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't do shit out, nothing. You are eating good, you are training, you were going home, you're resting. That's what you did. Well, I got tired of that. Right? I wanted to be. Apparently, that adrenaline wasn't good enough for me. I wanted more. So I decided to work, and a day off for me, 2 days a week. I think it was Tuesday and Thursdays, my T days. I only worked my diesel job, which was 9 to 5. That was a day off. Otherwise, every other day I worked double shifts. So I would get done with my diesel job at like 4 p.m. I would hurry up, haul ass home, take a quick shower, get to the bar, close the bar down. We would be midnight by the time I closed the bar down, and then have to turn around, be back at my diesel job next morning. Weekends, didn't have weekends off, only when I went to go see my kids. On the weekends, I didn't work the diesel job, but I worked doubles at the bars. One bar I would open for breakfast, serve, and then the next bar I would go to, I would close. And on the weekends, you don't close till 2 o'clock in the morning. I
Was
did
there
this.
any financial troubles here? Like,
None. No, I had the house that I stayed in. I had okay. The goal was is to get enough money that I could outright buy a house for my family back in Minnesota. Okay, so the money that I had was, well, prior to that was good. It just wasn't quite enough.
were
The
you
cost of living in,
divorced at this stage from your ex-wife, or?
well, we're
Yep.
separated. We're still technically legally not divorced. We're separated, but so we're separated. But she's getting a great deal of child support. Can you imagine that? So like, I'm making a lot of money. I mean, at one point in time, I was sending $3,500 per month back in child support. So still a lot of
Respect
money,
for
right?
doing that as well. Respect for doing that.
Well, my kids mean it. Like, listen, so even through all these like bad times and bad decisions, the thoughts of providing for my children were always there. The extra money went to them. All this stuff went to them. And then I got really far. Come on, guys. Come on, leave chickens alone. I got, once again, things go to your head. So being at the bars all the time, I met a lot of people that I normally wouldn't hang out with because I never was at the bars. I I created for myself another addiction. I had a horrible cocaine addiction. Okay, for about 2 years of my life, I went down that realm for a
I
year.
kind of figured we were getting there because when you were talking earlier about the methods and that, you made a comment back then that implied that there was going to be something with drugs
Yep.
later on.
So got into that. I was working a lot, and I was working a lot now, right? I had this magical powder that would make it so I didn't have to
Yeah.
sleep. I had all this energy, right? So I did that for. I did it for about a year, casually, on the weekends, this and that. By the year prior, so right now, I've been back here for a year and a half. So the last year prior to that, okay, so a year and a half I've been here. The year prior to the year and a half me being here, I was using cocaine on a daily basis, every single day, constantly using it. I ended up um, just I was barely getting by at my diesel job. Right, they were like, "Man, maybe I have to let this guy go." I was still doing that, still doing the bar jobs. I ended up getting into a car accident, 3 car accidents actually. So in that time period, my ex had brought the kids up for a visit, right? They were coming up to visit, have a little vacation in Colorado, and so she could see some old friends and whatnot. And she got this wild hair, like, I'm gonna stay. Will you provide me with what I need to stay here in Colorado? And at that point in time, like, I'm really depressed, only seeing my kids one weekend every, so often a month, and that's really eating at me as well. And I think that's what just keeps leading me down the dark fucking path. I don't understand. But so she comes up, um, get her a house. I dropped like $9,000, a substantial amount of money to get her in a good house, filled the house with couches and beds and utensils, the whole 9 yards. And a week later, I'm still using it this time, and I'm like, I got to stop now. If my kids are going to be in the same state as me, I will not let them ever see me like that. And boom, a week later, she up and leaves. Boom, same, like, similar to what happened before. I get this super long text message. I can't be here. I have to leave. Well, so literally, I just put all this money to put her into this house. So I hit the deepest stage of depression I had ever been in. I started drinking heavier than I ever had, doing more drugs than I ever had. I got into a car accident. I totaled 3 vehicles. I ended up being able to limp my car home, so I didn't get a DUI. I got 2 careless drivings and 1 DUI in 1 week's time, 7-day time period. I totaled 5 different cars. I'm lucky I didn't end someone's life. The final stint was I got into an accident and I passed out in the vehicle after hitting a car, and then ricocheted off the car, hit a tree. I passed out. I woke up in the hospital. No recollection of an ambulance ride or anything like that. Woke up in the hospital, got out, went home, put my freaking shotgun in my mouth. I was not talking about being ashamed of yourself. Like, you've gone through so much, and you should have learned from so many of those mistakes. And for you to still have a family, I have all 5 of my kids at this time period, have a family, have the woman taking care of them, and you just cannot ever find a time where you fucking have had enough. When is good enough for you? When is there going to be a time where you can finally just see you have a gift here? You have could be a glorious life if you just let your fucking self live it. You just live it honestly, live it good. You could have joys. And I got my license taken away, which affected my diesel job greatly. I needed to drive. I need to drive a company big rig, to go out and do road calls. And when the truck breaks down, I'm about to get let go of that position. Devastating. Now that's where I make all my money. So I'm depressed. My license gets taken away. I'm sitting in my room, drugs on the counter, this, that. I'm like, I gotta end it. This is done. I don't have a license anymore. I can't see my kids. I'm possibly going to jail. You're doing your whole adolescent life all fucking over again, man. What is going on? So I see the only way out is I was gonna commit suicide. I had a gun at the time.
How long
I've
ago
always
was
had.
this?
This was 2.5 years ago, a little bit less than that, maybe 2 years and a couple months, right? Because I've been here for about a year and a half, and it was about 9 months before that. So yeah, a little over 2 years ago that had the barrel of the rifle in my mouth, everything loaded. I always had the gun loaded anyways, and I stopped myself. I put it down, quit all the drugs. I put the gun down, and I just had that moment, and something took over me. I've got a little bit more spiritual since this time period, but something happened, something stopped, and something clicked. I went after that time. I put that away, straightened everything out. I quit doing the stuff. I locked myself in my house for. It's very difficult to come down from that kind of addiction in a very short time period without help. So I go through some, like, that was really bad time. The nice thing is I had a couple really good friends that saw something really good in me, that were part of a church and were a great positive influence on me. And he took me under his wing right away because I was open to him about situation, what happened, where I was going to take it. Yeah, so I straightened out some things. I was in a really rough spot. I didn't have a license. I had to get rides from people to get to work and to do all that. Fast forward to last March. So not this March, but last March, I cold turkey, quit drinking, quit doing any drugs, left immediately, and I talked to my ex-wife. I was like, I'm moving back to Minnesota. She's like, the hell do you mean? She's like, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, she kind of knew about the situation, how far I was, and I was like, I can't. Listen, something, universe, whatever, stopped me from doing what I was doing. I was so dead set on what I was going to do that I had lived my life. I had fucked up enough. I'm not ruining anything else for anyone else. I shouldn't be here. I was like, but something stopped me, and I was like, what that something is telling me is I need to go back home. I need to go back to Minnesota. I need to be with my kids. I need to be there. I cannot be here anymore. I cannot do this anymore. I
How old are
it
your
is
kids at this
this.
stage?
My oldest son is 13. My youngest was 2. And I have 5 kids, so I have a 13-year-old, 10-year-old, 9-year-old, 6-year. I'm trying to go back to that time period. 6-year-old and then a 2-year-old at the time. And they didn't know about all this, right? I only seen them. They only seen perfect snapshots of me when I would come and visit for a weekend, a month, and oh, Dad's great. He's got all this money. He brings us like I would bring wads of like $100 or like smaller bills, increment bills to give it to him, and that was just like my tips. And we would do lavish things while I was here, so they were having a blast. They thought Dad was great. Dad's doing fine. He's happy when you see him. You know, he's not like when my wife and I would try again,
Yeah, but
and her
that's
I'd
part of the
yelling and screaming.
responsibility of being a parent as well. You shield your kids from the bad stuff
Correct. So
as much as possible. So that's not a bad thing. You know, you're trying to give them, but at the same time, you were not giving them the best you.
no, I wasn't giving anyone the best of me. I wasn't giving myself the
You
best. I
weren't
was
giving you.
giving
Yeah, I
myself.
was about to say that you weren't giving
Yeah.
yourself
No,
the
I'm
best
like,
you either.
so I cold turkey quit everything, packed up everything I could in my truck,
How hard
left.
was that?
Emotionally, extremely hard. I basically, at that point in time, I had no ego. I had no self worth in myself. I had no nothing, but I knew what the goal had to have been, and that was to get back to my children, to get back to like the grassroots of like who I was. Like, you're a father, okay? You're trying so hard not to be one. You're trying so hard to ruin everything. You're you overextend. Like I said, overextend yourself over and over again to be the best you can at something, and then you can't level off. You can't find the balance. You're always either go hard or nothing at all. And it's like, it's a very difficult thing. So I, I had a lot of time to myself, just before I had moved back here. And I, I got on a really good, like universal, like I got in touch with like the universe. I'm not big on the religion side of things, but I feel like something pulled me away from doing that, and with that, I had to give that full respect. So I came here on a leap of faith. I came here without a job. I didn't have a job set up. I still had to take care of my kids, still had to pay my child support, still had to do everything. And I left. I packed up my truck, left, was up for, I went straight through. It's like an 18-hour drive, got to my ex mother-in-law's so I could stay there for the night. I still stayed in touch with her and have still to this day, I have a good relationship with her. And, got to our old house. This is the house that she used to like live in back in the day where I'm at now. And she's now living with the guy that she's been with for about 3 years. And just I put like my life and everything in the universe's hands. I said, I'm gonna do like what my pull was, what I was felt like I was pulled to do. I did it. I said, fine, I'll do it. I'll trust this feeling inside of me that I need to go back home, and that if I can have if I can be true at heart as to what I'm doing is what I want to do, and not have something in the background like, oh, yeah, but I'm gonna do that, but then you're gonna go back to drugs, you're gonna this, that, nothing. Like, I need to be true to one thing and one thing only, and that's gonna be the best father I can to my kids. So like I said, up and left, came here. It was a struggle for the first couple months. I didn't have running water in this house for 8 months. Okay, I didn't have running water. I had to go outside of the well, pump the water. Look for any snipers out in the woods. Sitting at the well by yourself. So like, I had to go pump water. I had to pump water if I wanted warm water, take a shower. I got to heat up in the kettle. But there was something very humbling in doing that. Like, I went from this like mountaintop of having all this success, having all these things, down to nothing, and I chose it. Now this
Cocaine,
time,
hookers, and blow down to pumping water
yep,
from a well.
down to pumping water from a well and having no one. So in this last year and a half, I've like been able to like find who I really am. I've been able to find balance. I've been able to be happy and feeling like I am successful just by making breakfast for my children, just by saying I'm going to put my phone down and we're going to go play on the trampoline together. Like I have finally, the universe had a plan for me, but what it has given me is the most indestructible, indomitable spirit. Like going through not having running water, going through the despairs of this house being so old and multiple years of it not being lived in. Um, I went from living in a resort. I went to living somewhere that most people could dream about visiting, let alone living there full time. And I had to make. I'm gonna tell you, the last year and a half, I've never been happier in my life. I've never been happier in my life than going through nothing.
So what do
I
you do
have
for a job now?
I'm a diesel mechanic. I'm still so
Mhm.
I work for a local massive paving company. Um and been doing great. Been super happy with that. I'm just doing that. See, I'm not trying to, my ex is like, well, you need to find a
No, I
second
like the way
job.
you
You need
said
to do
that. I'm
this.
just doing that.
Yes. So like, well, honestly, the first 6 months, 7 months of being here, it was a struggle. Going through withdrawals, from excessively doing that much drugs. I don't know how I didn't kill myself. To be super fair and honest, I was living the party like just like, but a lot. Like not just like, oh, he's doing a little bit. I was doing I don't know how I didn't kill myself in that aspect. So like with that um coming about, that's when just before I left Colorado is when I found DayZ. DayZ is what made it so I could stay in my house and get over and go through some of those withdrawals, go through those things by myself without going out to the bar, without going and seeking all these other things. I found DayZ and I was like, holy shit, this is a game I can
How?
play.
How did you find DayZ?
Random YouTube video, JLK. I have no idea how it came across my feed. I wasn't playing video games at the time. I didn't own a system at the time. Um, and something came up and I saw that game, and JLK has a way with his videos and his cinematics and his everything that'll
Yeah.
keep anyone fascinated, right? So like, boom, I caught it and I was like, shit, that looks like a game for me. Bought a PS5, found enough money for one, got a PS5, started playing the game. I got it. Actually, the servers that I first got into and playing the game, I own them now, which is um something I was always kind of proud of. But so yeah, DayZ was I found a couple really good friends. So a couple are Aussies, a couple guys from the Netherlands, and kind of got comfortable enough to share a little bit of my story. And my thing for DayZ and why I wanted to own servers is what I loved about like in my Discord and whatnot is those people that would come about that didn't have any family, they didn't have anyone, and they didn't have anything to cling to. But in Discord, we'd all be wishing each other Merry Christmas. Let's go do a run together, guys. Like you might not have your family to go to do family dinner. Let's go on a run. Let's go. We have like the DayZ. That's what I love about DayZ is the community is there for everyone. We all might shoot each other in KOS and pop someone off at the well or
And
something
talk
and cheap
shit and
shot
smack
and
talk
talk
and
exactly. But when push comes to shove, when something IRL is going on, this community has a way of lifting up people and finding a way to always be there for them, be it through Discord, be it through a chat, be it through just going on a run with a good fucking mate on a different server or switching it up or, you know, um, just the time you spend, right? We're running, right? Running similar. People always got that bullshit thing to say about DayZ. You have all this time and you get to sit with people for hours on end because this game pulls you in. You're going on 6 hour runs
you
sometimes,
make you
and
make lifelong friends.
make
I speak to
lifelong.
my mate Vidge, who I met 10 years ago through seeing his videos and reaching out to another guy in Australia, Vanguard. And I don't speak to him as often because he's not playing the game. He's got his family and a missus and that. But Vidge, we speak pretty much every day. We send each other a message just talking about something stupid or whatever. And, mostly stuff not even related to DayZ. That's how good of a friend he is. And Vanguard, I still keep in contact with him, but they're two of my closest mates. And most of my closest mates in my life now are all people I've met through this stupid fucking video game. That just, as you said, one of the things about it is when you do get with that circle of friends, you become close because it's not just a case of jumping on and all you're doing is talking about that video game and then trash talking in the lobby with someone else, you're talking
Call of
about
Duty,
all
yep.
sorts of shit. Yeah, you're talking about all sorts of stuff. So what are you doing? You got all this time while you're waiting for that next shot to ring out, or while you're traveling from Electro up to Tizzy or something like that. So yeah, you form some really tight bonds with people.
Yeah. So, but basically for me, like DayZ is what made it. I mean, I've said DayZ saved my life. Like, and I know, like, ooh, but what DayZ? Okay, not the game itself, but the way the game is formatted and set up, and the way you can meet lifelong friends like that, and like how the game can always keep you enticed. It's always different. There's people that have been playing it since it came out back 2013. When it was a mod, like the game doesn't get old. And you were talking last week with Mitch about, how many games have been released on PC, on Steam, in this whole time period. And then
77,000 or something. And DayZ
yeah,
is still in the top 50 games being played at the moment on Steam. It's
exactly.
just
And there's a
insane.
reason. There's a reason for that. So like I wanted to go once again, but I wanted to balance, but I wanted to go in really hard with, DayZ, and I ended up getting learning curve was I got quite good at the game pretty quickly, and got established in the server. The server was going out. I ended up basically buying them out and taking over those servers, taking over the Discord. Started doing really well, and really liked the admin side of things. Really liked pushing my limits on modding PlayStation servers. And then that's eventually what got me
This
in.
isn't going to be your next overextension, is it?
Nope. No. So what I'm so focused on now is I have my kids all the time now. I have my kids every weekend. With the relationship that I've been able to build with them in this last year and a half, like my most all my kids, I get them every weekend, right? It's like a every weekend thing, which is great. But they want to stay longer. That's always the times, hey, can I ask mom, can we stay one more night with you, and like all this stuff? Like we have a great experience, and it's not from that's not from DayZ. I don't play out on the weekends. Like when I have my kids, that's not when I'm playing. Like when I'm playing is after work on the weekdays. But like we're going out to the trampoline. We have a massive yard. We got acres. We got chickens. We got dogs. We got so much trails to walk and things to do outside. Like we are so like when I'm with them, it's hands on. When I'm with them, my phone is down. When I'm with them, DayZ isn't on. Like we are really gung ho on that. And that is my balance. That is what I do. DayZ is what I have a passion for because
Compartmentalizing each of those
I'm
parts of your
finding
life.
exactly, but I'm finding a balance in them. I don't need
Yeah.
to like go that I don't, I put a lot, don't get me wrong, in the short period of time. I put a lot of hours in the DayZ, let me tell you, but in a like it's been in a healthy way. It's been a way for me to meet other people and realize like how much and then I've also been that other guy that's been able to help a lot of people going through some stuff. Like listen, man, I can tell you, like if I haven't been there already, I've been in very something of the nature. So I've been able to use my life experiences to help so many people through the game, through just talking. When I share some of these stories, or I have a lot of tattoos, and all this stuff. So a lot of people feel really comfortable, even in just life, if they feel comfortable with me. Like I've been coached my son's soccer league, and I was a coach there, and a lot of these older brothers of some of these kids or whatnot, they like, they want to see the tattoos. They think I'm like really cool, like coaches, coaching dad, all this stuff. And I'm like really able to be a better coach, be a better person to share the outside perspective of life. Like the things that we don't see, or like, okay, for instance, like pennies equal a dollar, right? No one you look at a penny, you might even throw the damn thing away, or it might be lost somewhere, but it takes a penny to equal a dollar. No matter how you cut it, you still need the pennies to equal up to that dollar. So it's about finding like those things. It's not about the big, like for me, for instance, it was always about let's get that $100 bill and let's go. It was never about realizing and cherishing and liking the process of making that. I just would go gung ho and didn't really matter. So like now it's the kids. Now it's going through those things. Now it's finding a way to take my life experiences that have been horrible for me, but to take those into times where I can help someone going through a similar struggle or a similar situation and I can
Well,
really do
that
it
kind of
well.
segues into the next thing I want to talk about with you is you're thinking of doing your own podcast soon.
Yes. So once I dipped in there, it's going to be called The Outside Perspective, and basically just want to be a life coaching basically podcast that I've already got like 105 episodes written out. And what it's going to be is just going over, like, one of the episodes is pennies equal a dollar, and it's going through, just it's an outside perspective of some of life's like situations, like, just making your bed every day, that's a penny. Okay, doing, making sure your groom's right, making sure, like, we need to find ways, like, as society, instead this instant gratification that we find through our cell phones, that we find through
You
having
know
all
what
this
we need? You know
information.
what we need more right now
What's that?
is some decent male role models. People who
There we
aren't
go.
driven by a religious ideology or by a political ideology, just middle of the road, a bit of this side, a bit of that side, a bit of maybe there's something up above. Don't know if you believe in this flying spaghetti monster. Good for you. I've got no issues with it, but just there's common values, and that's it's you said that you've watched quite a bit of my stuff, and it's something that I try to say as often as I can that no matter whether you vote red or you vote blue, you believe in Muhammad, you believe in God, you believe in the flying spaghetti monster or whatever. At the end of the day, we're all just sacks of meat with blood pumping around us and some hopefully electrical stimulus coming from the brain. We've all got more in common than we don't, and we need to try to remember that. And it's hard. Sometimes you get caught up in shit. I'm bad for that. If you know me, you know that I always get caught up in shit. But at the end of the day, we're only human. You've told your story. You've fucked up a number of times along the way, but that's part of life. It happens. Um, it's what it is. It's what you make of it. And sometimes those choices aren't the smartest, but you bounce back from them. There's nothing wrong with being at rock bottom, as long as you climb your way back up. Don't be afraid to take a hand up, not a handout. I'm a big believer in that. If that handout is going to help you as a hand up, then yeah, you take it. But you've got to man up, put your big girl panties on for you ladies, and sometimes just buckle down.
Yeah, and that's well, a lot with that podcast, and it's in the title, the outside perspective. These are the things that people forget about, but just like what you said, all of these episodes they all have something in common. Everyone, every single human being, no matter what race, color, religion, side of the aisle you're on, we all can relate to them, because these are
Mhm.
all like those founding blocks that everyone overlooks. Like, we overlook them so much in our fast-paced life that, we got our schedule, we got this. Oh,
And it's so fast paced right now with
it is.
technology and everything. Everything is there's as you were doing to yourself, it's so hard to find time to just switch off. And that's probably one of the best things you've been doing lately is you do when you've got your kids, you switch off. And it's just you and the kids, and you create that little bubble. And it's probably one of the things that keeps me sane is when I'm not doing this, I am a fairly solitary sort of person. I'm about my wife, my son, my dogs. I'll jump on and play some games, but I usually play by myself because if you keep throwing yourself out there, you'll overextend. And you've been a great lesson in what happens when you do overextend. Yeah, we're not robots, people. You can't do it all. You can't have it all. And just constantly seeking that. And I'm certain if you do this podcast, mate, you'll be talking about it, the damage you'll do to yourself.
What's a gift is a curse. It doesn't.
Yes.
Every gift, it will eventually become a curse if you let it, and if you keep diving into it. So it's about finding that balance. A lot of the episodes go over that. They go over it. The point of the podcast is ironically exactly what you said: is to be a positive role model that people can look at, that might be a little bit crazy, and say, I'm actually going to, because that's the thing, when people are dealing with a lot of stuff where they have they have some addiction problems or issues, or if they have um some really bad habits of, law breaking or so on and so forth, it's really hard to find someone they're going to listen to, right? Like, they think they know, or they are going through all this, but when they come across someone that has been in a similar situation as them, can talk on their same level, can use that same language with them, can relate by expressing an emotion that, wait, he knows what I'm talking about. He just, what he just said or how he just responded to that, I'm similar. So I can use those really dark times and those really bad times to connect with those people and make them feel comfortable and say, hey, this guy's also been through some of those. I've seen in recent times that I've been able to really connect with people that are hard to connect with because you got someone that's got a degree or a psychologist or someone trying to talk to them because they don't want to listen to that shit. They don't want to listen to what the book says or like, you can tell they're just doing this because it's their job. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like they want to listen to someone that was like them. They want to listen to someone that can actually relate from real life experiences with them. And it's been a huge thing.
You just reminded me of something. A guy I've been watching a bit of late, and I know this is kind of political and that, but I've been getting a lot of clips and videos of Asmongold coming up. And he was watching a video of a young lass talking about plans for the Democrats and how to reconnect with their male audience. And she was talking about what it is to be a real man. And Asmongold said something, and I loved when he said it. He goes, if someone's going to tell me that I need to listen to a man's attitude, to a man's opinion on something, unless that guy's been married for 50 years and has 5 kids, I'm not interested. And it's like that was a very broad, and that's kind of what he does, but he's also good at narrowing it down. But you don't want to be hearing from someone. There's nothing worse than a politician telling you how to raise your family when they don't have kids themselves. And if I'm going to take advice from someone, I want it to be from someone who's had experiences similar to mine. Yeah, I'll listen to the other person who's a supposed expert, but if someone who has been where I've been and managed to rise up out of it, I'm going to be more inclined to listen to that person than I am to the person who's got a doctorate in fucking something or other.
No, exactly. Like that's exactly it. I just want to give back. There's so many people that have been through my journey with me who have relentlessly seen some sort of good somewhere in that line of bullshit, and I want to give back. I want to be able to
be
that
because there's so many people who just want to take at the moment. We need more people just giving.
Just give, man. Just like, and that's if everyone would just do that, man, the world would be such a better place. But some people just don't know. Like some people just don't realize it, and that's like what that podcast is taking outside shit and be like, oh wait, I never thought about it that way. Oh, okay, and that's just trying to find a different angle to get people to.
But everyone's trying to rage bait these days as well, mate. That's how you get engagement. You get people fired up and all the rest of it. That's how all of these Hassan on the extreme left and Andrew Tate's on the extreme right, they generate all of their audience bases by rage bait, teaching you to hate someone and all the rest of it. And no, barring those extreme cases, pedophiles, murderers, rapists, people who want to, genocides and all the rest of that sort of stuff, there's very few people in this world you should hate unless they betrayed you personally. No, so what if Joe did something to Bob or whatever? There might be more there going on that I don't know about. So I treat people how they are with me. I'll learn and watch what's happening, but I just try to treat everyone pretty much the same until they do something to me specifically. Other than that, it's ironic that you say the guy that brought you into this game is JLK, because when you were talking about the mistakes you made when you were young, and I was sitting there at the time and I was actually thinking of JLK. I message him every now and then just to see how he's going. It makes me so glad that he rose up from his mistake that he made. You're probably aware of that as well. He did a stupid thing, but he was young. He was about the same age as you when you made your mistake. I wonder if those people who still give him shit over that mistake back then would think the same of you. What? Oh, he robbed once, he's going to rob again.
So with people that have had similar backgrounds like this, you almost expect that that's going to be what people think of you. Honestly, who am I to tell you any different? I guess at the moment, like, just if you can hear what I have, hear what I have to say, and know that like just like those extremes of the people you're just mentioning, Tate and Saad, like all that
No,
is
see,
grading.
you made a silly mistake at an age. We're not talking about, at the time. I remember saying to people, he didn't rape anyone, he didn't play with kids, he didn't have any of these conditions that are more of a psychological, something's broken in your brain that
Yeah,
can't be fixed, or needs hard drugs to get you back to being normal. People have got some of those really severe psychological conditions that
yeah,
cause them to snap and just do crazy shit. The rest of us are just people who make a bad decision. You know, we think what we're doing is a smart decision, and that could be either we just don't know better, or we think we know more than we do. Arrogance, as you said for yourself, and those sorts of things. And we all make stupid decisions. And provided you didn't break any of those, really cardinal sins, so what? As long as no one got hurt, move on, people.
well,
Now,
and
if
like the
if
way
if it becomes a pattern, then yes, there's a problem there. But yeah, I really hate people who can't let something go like that.
exactly, society doesn't push forgiveness. It
No,
pushes a harder and harder divide on this person is feels this way about a certain situation, so that is wrong. There's always a left and a right, but like there's always the yin to the yang. But if you look at that symbol, there's a whole lot in the middle that are very equal to each other. So like the biggest thing is like forgiveness is key, and hate only poisons the person that holds it. Like because I hate you, are
I like
you
that.
losing sleep on it? Are you
Hate
losing
only
sleep on it?
poisons the person who holds it. That's good.
I mean but that's how it is, right? Like
Yeah.
my hatred and resentment towards someone else, like I've forgiven my mother. Like that was a big thing for me. I was like my constant hatred for my mother. I forgave my real father. I had a conversation with him after so many years of not even seeing his face, knowing who the hell he was. I got in contact with him and I was like, you know what? I went through the like that time where I needed to forgive these people, and it was a big thing for me, psychologically, emotionally. Like I cannot continue. Like my dad doesn't even know I'm thinking about him. Right? I haven't seen him in 20 something years. Like he doesn't know, but I'm sitting here thinking about it all the time. But that hate for and resentment I had from him is only poisoning me right now because he's not. He doesn't even whatever. So got a hold of him, forgave him. I had a really nice long talk with mother of my children and said, you know what, like I want you to know, like I never probably said it that often, but I was completely wrong, and just a very emotional kind of apology that humbling yourself, saying that I am wrong instead of finding an excuse for everything. And this is
Yeah,
why I
no
did that,
buts,
or
no
that's why.
if onlys or anything like that. Just
Yeah, that
I
no,
fucked up.
I fucked up. I need to own it, and that's who I am. That's who I was, and what I have to offer now is the knowledge that I gained from like these like mistakes. And you only get to show the haters or the non-sayers that think that you're gonna just be that same type of person. You fine. You continue to think that my actions will speak louder than any words that are going to happen. And if you think that, then and if you want to not be like forgiveness is huge. You have to forgive. Like people are gonna.
I
That's what
struggle with
we've
that. I struggle with
lost,
that.
and people
Um,
do. And
with,
you know,
I forgive, but I struggle with actually being able to tell a person that I've forgiven them, because I'm kind of at the mindset that what does it fucking matter? It's only words. I had a good saying. I might just because I don't like you doesn't mean I hate you. I might not. I still want you to be able to eat, but not at the same table as me. So
yeah,
I'm more of I just kind of stand off from someone who's like, I don't hate you. There's a lot of people who think I hate them. I don't. I might
yeah,
not agree with you on something, and I might not want to be friends with you, but it doesn't mean I hate you. I can
yeah.
still
I mean,
respect you on a professional level.
even the guy that my mother of my children, her boyfriend that she's been with for 3 years, I went and shook his hand. I and he was didn't know how to react to it, but because in that sort of thing, traditionally wise, I shouldn't like him, right? He's trying to take care
Mm.
of my kids. He's with my ex and like all this, but he's one of the the gentlemen that she has been with that they really do like they like him. He takes them out hunting with. He does like a lot of things like with them. So I took it into my own to go to him and shake his hand and say, you know what, I know this isn't the traditional way to go about this, but I really want to thank you for the presence that you've had in my children's lives. His jaw dropped. Like, what the hell are you fucking talking about? I'm like, whatever. Like, here's my thing: is like, I love my children no matter what. I want the best for them no matter what. And in the times that I can't be there with them, if they have a positive male role model in their life, and you seems like you're doing that, thank you. That's all I want to say is thank you. I don't think that my children love me any less because you're in their life. I don't think that at all. I think that you are a positive male influence when I can't be there in the way that the life situation has it. I have, you're with my kids, I'm with my kids. It is what it is, but I have to have enough. I have to be selfless enough to be able to make that decision to do that. And I think it's the right one. That's where the forgiveness comes in. Like, yeah, you might have done me wrong, but I'm still going to bring you to my table to eat. We all need to eat some food. And maybe that'll be a flaw for me later on in the future, that I'm going to trust too many people or I'm going to forgive too many. But I will be able to live with that, knowing that I still have faith in who humans are and what makes us so special.
I like that because even going back to when I interviewed Matt Z a while back, a lot of people were saying I shouldn't, and I was kind of of the opinion that I like to give people a chance. And in that case, his actions since haven't really impressed me much. But I
Not at
still
all.
stand by
Not at
what I
all.
did. I gave him a chance to try, and I thought I could maybe get through to him and see some reason. Didn't pan out, but you've got to give someone a chance. You can't just it's too narrow-minded. You're putting the blinkers on if you just don't want to hear from that person. They've got a bad opinion or whatever. No, you've got to try to understand where they're coming from. As long as your intentions are good, then you did it for the right reason. It's the same with you.
Yeah.
If you're allowing people to dine at your table who then betray you later on, well, that's on them. That's on them
Yeah.
as a person, because you showed them courtesy and they chose to betray you. So I wouldn't hold that against yourself. That's just more a case of, well, at least I know now where you stand.
Exactly.
I
But it's
chose to
still,
let you come to my table, and then you betrayed me. So that's it.
yeah, I think it still comes to what you said, is those cardinal rules. There are a handful of them that do not warrant any form of forgiveness,
No.
right? So I think that we still have to be disciplined in
Hmm.
who we, put ourselves, like, there's a handful of people that, yeah, you're not going to be breaking bread at my table. No, whoa, okay, listen, like, things have happened and whatnot, and you might be trying to change and do that, and I will be a way to possibly help and assist you in your change from afar, but it's not going to be in my own household. It's not going to be very close, because, or even associate with those kind of, like, individuals that break some of those, like, really hard. Some things are not forgivable. I believe that. I think some things are not, and maybe
Same.
that contradicts some of what I just said. Maybe, I don't know, but
No,
there's certain
no, it
things
doesn't.
that you touch children, you go down that realm, like, no, the forgiveness. I'm not going to go into depth of what I view as forgiveness in that category, but
Rule
there's
303, I call it.
yeah, that forgiveness is giving up your life. But I mean, yeah. So that being said, like, there are time. I just think society needs to get better at not only forgiveness, not only not hating, but we have to. Okay, but have you seen Trolls 2, the second Trolls movie?
No.
Animated, so it's an animated show, Trolls. It's what Justin Timberlake as one of the characters, and uh, this other woman. Anyways, so the second Trolls movie is all about there being these strings that each sort of genre of music troll, right? There's the pop trolls, there's the hard rock trolls, there's the metal trolls, there's the country trolls, right? So, but the point of the movie is, anyway, so the hard rock trolls want to take over all of music, right? They want to take every string from every other other troll, and they want to make it all hard rock, because they think only hard rock is the only thing that should exist. It's only good. Everything else is crap, basically, right? Well, at the end of the movie, what it comes down to is the realization of, and I love that my kids watch this movie, is that we all are different, right? Everyone is going to be different, but what makes us all strong together is finding the uniqueness in each one of us in each different walk of life, and combining it together and learning from that person and learning from it, and staying true to our heritage, but also being open to hear from other heritages and to learn from them, not to criticize them, not to say that they're wrong for doing so. No, it's just to accept people for who they are, and let's combine those things and learn so much more. We don't need to have blue and blue together. Blue and blue together doesn't make another color. There's not another imagination for that. But you take red and blue, make purple. You could make so many colors out of different, right? So then your imagination just blossoms and gets bigger. Now that's the same thing with the community. Like if you can mend so many of those things, there's so much strength you can find in learning from the other side that you don't practice or that is not part of your heritage. Like learn from that, but respect what they have to offer. You get that respect in return. It could be a very beautiful thing. Like, so anyways, at the end of the movie, the Hard Rock Trolls realize, wow, there's uniqueness in all sorts of different kinds of music. So, country, the
Those
countryside,
Hard
this,
Rock
that.
Trolls. The movie could have been over in 5 minutes. You could have just sat them down and made them watch Run DMC and Aerosmith.
Yeah, right. Amen. But so what I liked about the movie though is how they pushed in a large film, massive film that was very popular. That like it's
diversity.
Our differences.
Okay.
Our differences make us unique. Our differences have strengths, and other sides are gonna have different strengths, different weaknesses. If you combine those, your strengths are higher and your weaknesses are less because you can combine those things. Not us pushing this divide and hatred because of the left, because of the right. Y'all just work together. Guess what would happen? Some sort of harmony. Not this bullshit.
Yep. One last question for you. What are your thoughts on DayZ 1.28?
I'm excited. I'm not. The changes. Like I watched some Wobo stuff recently, and it's not even the sounds. Was the other one the other streamer always
streams? Yep.
Always streams, and us. I watched that latest video, and they were talking about some of the like changes that are going to be coming to the scopes, coming to when you're holding your breath, not when you're stopping, hold your breath, it's not going to be as precise. And these scopes we're going to have to, if a lot of that stuff, they do so much investigating to put in those videos, Wobo and always that. I believe it. If you haven't watched Always recent one, you should watch it. And it talks about how PvP is going to change. We're going to have to get used to the way we PvP. I mean, plain and simple, our sites are not always going to be on.
There's going to be some upset PvP, boys.
Exactly. Well, in the gun sounds, you're going to have to. You're not. He said from a distance now that it's the gun sounds are going to all sound almost the same. So you're going to have to put in consideration how fast were they popping off rounds. Does it sound high count? Was it a DMR? Were they just popping off continuously? Was there the gap there? You're not going to be able to pinpoint now from a distance exactly what weapon they're using. You might be able to say if it's a sniper rifle. You might be able to say if it's a SMG, or you're not going to hear a pistol from that far. But you're going to be able to do it that. But it's the 4 individuals that have played the game for so long, for 6+ years. I think that this will be a very dynamic change for them. For the newer players that have been playing for so long, I don't think they're going to notice as much. But for the long-time player that has their precise scope they always use, their their go-to weapon, their modes, so on, I think it's going to be a change for them. But I'm excited. I love this. I hate all this bullshit of we need DayZ 2 and knocking DayZ for not having a fucking DayZ 2. It annoys the shit out of me to no fucking end. Like, listen,
it's one of those things you've got to be you've got to tell people just to take a breath. And I can be guilty of it as well. I get caught up in a certain topic that piques my interest at that time. And that's why it was good last week in the discussion with Mitch, that it was just, we ended up at that point where it was like, think about it. Let's just have a look and see how many games have come out. And DayZ is still in the top 50. Yeah, it's not perfect. Yeah, there's things that, they could be doing better. I don't like that, patches go to stable with things broken in them. They're not an experimental or an alpha or a beta or an early access. It's a stable full release game now. So the patches should be coming out not broken. But that's a minor thing when you compare just how good a game it is. That it's still, as old as it is, still so fucking popular, with new players coming in every month, every week, every day. Someone else discovers DayZ.
Well, name me another fucking game that has been around that long that still gets updates. How many games still get updates? How many games are still getting worked on constantly? And how many games are this popular?
The ones that are generally all in that top 50 to 100. Rust, Counter-Strike, Dota 2, Minecraft, games like that.
But and so what it is I think, and a lot of those, studios you just named off might be a little bit bigger than Bohemia, right? So like, I think the thing with DayZ is as we all have these feelings and these opinions about it because we strongly have feelings towards this game, right? So like with that like being said, go back to those like grassroots of things. What brought you here? Like we should be super thankful that this game isn't like Call of Duty where we got to buy a $70 game every fucking year. We don't have to do that. Yes. Did Sakal have to be $30? Probably not. But we're not paying $70 each year. Do we have to pay that every single fucking year like a Madden?
I honestly don't get the issue with the price of it.
I
only the second DLC ever. I get that some people found it a bit exy. I don't get it, but I understand that some people found that. But I don't see a problem with the price.
But where the hell else is Bohemia supposed to get their money? Okay, Call of Duty.
It wasn't just a map. It was a lot of engine stuff behind it as well.
Yeah.
No, the map was, there was issues with replayability and so on, but it was more than just the map. It was fun in the development, and a
lot of the modding community took care of that. So yes, there's not much of an end game, but for instance, my Sakal server, okay, I created a contaminated zone at the geothermal plant, right? I added a bunker somewhere off the fucking remote fucking place so that some of the that's what's so beautiful about the modding communities. They can give us something and at least stuff so open that we have an option to change those things and to do those things. Yes, is that specific official one there? No, I don't think they're done working on Sakal. But the other thing about like the price point we were talking about, there's no in-game DLC. You're not buying skins. You're not buying weapon things. They don't have many outlets to continue to gain revenue from this game besides you buying it right away and
like
have the time it's on fucking sale.
They're not a company that could really be criticized for being greedy per se.
Exactly.
It's 2 DLCs for DayZ. Armor, I think, had maybe a dozen. Armor 3. And some of them were community DLCs, which was community-driven projects like Sog Prairie Fire, which I pray that one day they do something like that for DayZ. Get some of those. There's so many amazing minds around this game. Hunter Z, Helkiana, Inclement Dab, DeOne, Rad Tyson. Sorry if I didn't name you. You all know who you are. I'm a big supporter of modders, but it'd be great to see them all able to get together and create something from the ground up and have it released as an official community DLC where, from what I understand, I think it's 50-50 is what Bohemians do. 50% goes to the developer and they take 50%. I think that's reasonable because you're using their assets, and see them all get to make something. But they need to be organized. And you look at Sog Prairie Fire, if you've ever looked in, worth looking into if you want to find out more about how that side of it works. And just seeing the level of detail they went into for that, because that's arguably one of the most successful community DLCs that they've ever done. And it was down to interviewing old Vietnam veterans and shit like that. That's just insane levels of detail. And I would love to see them create something like that for DayZ. Something brand new, not a rehashed asset like Sakal was from Tanoa. Yeah. That's all. I'm kind of worried a bit that it's going to be Takistan is this new map. And as good as it'll be to see them do it, I still dream of something brand new, never seen before for DayZ, that we all have to learn, that no one's going in knowing the lay of the land. And yes, Sakal was vastly different to Tanoa, but the land layout was pretty much the same. So it'd be great to see something. I just imagine how much joy that the likes of Dance of Jesus and that miserable Scottish git Mike Doherty would get to have, creating a landmass from the get-go. Like Ivan got to do with Chernerus when he made that back in the day. But something designed specifically, maybe consult some of the bigger names in the community for some ideas around it and get some feedback. Make it a true community project involvement in creating something specific for DayZ. That'd be my dream. What do you think?
Yeah, I hope that's how they bring about DayZ too. I hope that's how they bring about is doing a collaborative moment like that to bring, because I agree with what you're saying. I don't have faith in the capabilities of the current engine and where we're at right now
Fine.
currently with
That's
DayZ
its
to be
biggest
able
issue.
to be able to, like, it's been such a good thing for so long without having any massive upgrades. So I think yes, the
I
desert
think
map's
it's
coming.
holding them back from doing some of the changes they need to, like the AI
It
is a big
is.
one, the infected AI. And
No,
I've said time and time again, I'd love to see improved animal AI. You're a hunter, you know that some animals, the prey animals, they don't always run when you shoot at them.
yeah, correct.
Boars in particular, deer and stuff like that. If they turn on you, you could be in a bit of fucking trouble.
Oh yeah, or a moose will rip you up, kill you. But so I think that we have to just be patient and know that, of course, they have the best interest in mind. They're still putting on this event to bring a bunch of streamers out to Prague,
Yep.
right? So like they're still engaged and they still want to, but we also have to realize they're not a huge studio. And not only they're not a huge studio, we don't pay them that much money. Okay, it's not like Fortnite or any other game where every week you're buying a new battle pass or you're doing this and doing that. They don't have all the we have to be careful what we want, because we might it's like we can't expect quite as much from them in that aspect, not because that they don't care, but because the game is not structured like some of these other games where you're constantly seeing new updates and new games coming out. But I hope that that's how they roll out DayZ too. New engine, new capabilities.
Mhm.
Let's get a bunch of these minds out that have loved this game and been so steadfast in this game for so long. Let's get them on board
And like
and create
even
this.
just seeing what's coming with Armor Reforger, the modding for consoles as well.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a lot of console players out there, which you're one of,
Yep.
who would be very
Used to be.
excited at the idea of but your
Mm.
heart's still there. But most console DayZ players, I've found, still have a soft spot for console because they remember the struggles. And it's something that you see a lot when people are providing feedback on DayZ. They forget console. I don't
They
know
do,
whether I think some of them just do it unintentionally, and others still have that console ruined DayZ attitude.
but no, okay. If for anyone that thinks that console ruined DayZ, console is what provided DayZ to still be doing what they are today. If you
It was
look
a
at the
massive
player,
cash injection. That
yeah,
was
at
the biggest. Actually, that's probably one of the few sources of steady revenue they have is Microsoft Battle Pass
yep,
or whatever it
yeah,
is.
the Game Pass or whatever it's called.
Game Pass, that's it. Yeah. So they get a bit of revenue coming in from that. But I don't think PlayStation has that.
No. I mean, PlayStation has the PlayStation Plus, where you do like for instance, like I do the middle
But I don't think DayZ
level.
was on that, was it?
No. What
Yeah.
that game was not on it. No, no. There was others that were, but they have a similar thing as in the Game Pass. But yeah, I don't know. Think for like console, and I was there for so long, but I was one of the only. I felt like not one of the only, but in the community that I am a part of, like, they didn't despise DayZ or think they're just fucking lazy fucks for not giving us mods. There's a lot more into like getting that like done. The game wasn't structured for a console to begin with. They made it so that you could play it on console. That brought a lot of money in, and now even if you look at the numbers, I think
And
not
they're
too long
anchored
ago it
to
was
the
almost a
old gen consoles as well.
yeah,
Because you see a lot of people say, "I just forget about them." Well, no, man. There's a lot of people out there who bought DayZ when it was PS4 and the Xbox. I can't even remember what the one is before the one that's on now. 360. I don't know, fucking 720, 480, something like that. But there's an obligation to keeping the game running for them. So I'm sorry, but until DayZ 2 comes out, or these providers cut services to the old gen consoles, DayZ's they have to. If people have paid for it, they're entitled to be able to play the game. As much
Exactly.
as that sucks for me and you and all the rest of everyone that we're always tethered back to these consoles that aren't as advanced as even PC's probably running a 1080. But that's the way it is.
And you have to take all these things with the good and the bad. Like even with your significant other, you're not gonna fucking love every goddamn aspect. There's some things that, gosh damn it, you do that and it annoys the shit out of me, but I love you anyways, right? So it's like
My wife is perfect, and there is nothing wrong with her. I love you, darling.
so so when it like I don't it's I don't know, like whatever, like not even like a whatever, but we're doing something where a bunch of people are included. It's not just homed in on one fucking thing. So like there is good there's good things out of that. It gives more people the opportunity to experience what DayZ is, why we all are so passionate and have all these hard opinions on this. What brought us to that? The love for the game. So we're letting more people enjoy that. And it's gonna come. It's gonna come. Come on. They have a lot of things going on right now. They dropped Reforger. They got Arma 3. Like they need to prioritize some stuff, but then they're trying to also please us and still give us new things on a game that is 11 years old. So like, give them some slack.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are done. Diesel, you have had one hell of a fucking life, mate. And I wanted to finish on a nice positive note there and talk about something that obviously clearly brings you some joy, and you're getting a lot of fun out of running communities and modding for the Karma Krew. Just a heads up to everyone. We here at 87.8 Survivor FM, we now have a pure vanilla server. No mods, no nothing, just 87.8. We'll be monitoring it to make sure that any bad eggs you get on there get kicked off. Those with player bans and recent cheating bans and things like that. Obviously, you'll be able to come and talk to us about it. And, if I'm feeling generous, we may give you a chance. But we're just doing a pure vanilla, and maybe down the line, potentially looking at my trademark catchphrase is going to be the CTB servers. Do you know what the CTB stands for, Diesel? Oh, sorry, CBT. CBT.
No, what?
Cock and ball torture.
Cock and ball torture. All right. So hardcore server.
Extremely hardcore. To just try something, and we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, I've been getting a lot of help from an absolute legend, Orc 7. He is just insane with his abilities and what he knows how to do. I'm lucky if I can work out how to press the button to make it go on. See, I don't even know what it's called. But yeah, I'm the worst nightmare for a server owner because I'm the one who constantly break it. But I'm an ideas man, and I've got a big mouth, and I can help promote something. Anything you want to shout out, mate?
Yeah. No, I mean, shout out, I guess, Karma Krew, giving me a chance at my first admin gig and teaching me a lot. How's a great man.
Give us the dirt. Give us the dirt. Tell us something. Tell us something that'll shock us all about Minder. I love Minder, by the way. He's a fucking legend.
Minder, for some of his outbreaks and breaking his keyboard, he is a super
nice guy.
Nice, genuine guy. He'll talk to you. We had to talk, of course, prior to us even scheduling doing this, and he really, everyone has those outbreaks, and it's funny as hell when sometimes he gets so pissed off. It's so funny, but at the same time, we
all do though. We all do.
Oh no! Once again, it's funny. It's funny, and it's the game, and it is hilarious sometimes. And like I said, but even given all that, very level-headed guy. He's a very good at what he does. Karma Krew is a massive success, console and PC sides of things. He has a very good group of people that are with him and that are helping him and that are.
Well, one of these days he's going to drop that Deadwood Mike Doherty, though. That guy's just holding him back.
I mean, no comment on any of the members that are in Karma Krew. I love them all. So
I love Mike. I really do. I've got a big soft spot in my heart. But my thing with Mike is I give him shit every single possible opportunity. I've got a cup for sale in my store. That's the Mike Doherty sippy cup. Because you've probably heard about when he spilled his drink over his computer. So I've left it up there. I've got a special role in my Discord for whenever he annoys me, I take away. I put it higher on the pecking order than the Bohemia tag for Bohemia employees,
Yeah.
and it's miserable Scottish kid who needs a sippy cup. So whenever he pisses me off, I put that tag on him so that he comes up pink. It's the only pink roll in the Discord, so he really stands out. It's just I love the guy,
All good fun.
and
All good fun.
I have a relationship with him where I said to him, if I ever stop taking the piss out of you, you know you've really annoyed me, and I don't like you anymore. But I love the guy. He's amazing, and he's a brilliant young mind, and I'm so happy to see him and all these other amazing people in this community who now work for this game that we love. Lad, Marks, Steve, Salkatesh, and Winstride, and that French git who spins trees, Dancer Jesus. That's another guy I love to take the piss out of. But yeah, it's awesome. They're such a good bunch of people.
Yeah, no, it's the whole community is, and it's about just all that. And it's like some of these like main like figures that we all see, the streamers, the modders, the content
One of them in
creators,
chat there, Scale Speeder.
Like they have Scale Speeder. Hey, by the way, Scale Speeder, just while you're here, I owe you all of my abilities to mod on PlayStation, or I give you all the credit, all of it, 100%. If anyone likes any of my servers and any of the mods, you deserve all the credit.
I love his channel because he's always putting out stuff. Even if he only gets a handful of views, he'll still put out the video on a topic that's probably only going to appeal to a handful of people, but he still does it. And I respect that. I've got a lot of respect for Scale Speeder. He's the amount of times I asked him to be a host on the podcast with me when I was doing it, because he's God tier. Yeah, he's in his niche. He's at the same level as Wobo for me.
Well, that and the way he can just explain it, like then the little comedy he throws in there to make it light, and like just the way he explains it. If you don't know anything about modding anything on your servers, console servers, or anything like that, like it's in such a way that it doesn't make you feel stupid. It makes you learn, and with the comedy that he adds in it, the little things, it's a joy to be learning it from him. So
he's a good egg.
So he's a good egg. I think the one thing is with the community too is the supporting cast that some people don't realize is there. There are so many to bring together. You know, Karma Krew servers, for instance, and Minder, his supporting cast is rock stars. So like that's another thing to but people should keep in the back of their mind a little bit as well, is that there's so many great people in this community that you might not have even heard the name.
Yep. Brother, all the best. Give each of your kids a kiss and a hug from me in a totally non-weird sort of way.
I know. You know what they did to me last night?
To a father.
It stayed up till 2:00 in the damn morning. I woke up from being too hot in my house here and got up and go in their room, and they're still up. So guess what? They're still sleeping now. So I get to go after this and go be rambunctious and wake them up and let them know it's time to get on with the day. So, but no, I will. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Awesome, mate. All the best. And if you ever do start releasing your podcast, let us know, and I'll give it a shout out because I think you've got a lot of good life lessons that hopefully some people can learn from out there. I could think of one name in particular, and if you're watching, you know who you are. Learn. You're heading down the same track, but you're not having your awakening moments yet.
Yeah.
All the best, everyone, and I will see you next week. I've got to actually reach out to my next week guest.
One thing I'll leave everyone with is going to be the motto for a lot of the podcasts and for things moving forward is always remember, memories are the strongest magic. All right. I want everyone to know that. Memories are the strongest magic.
Now, I'm looking at either Not Bratton, Elisar the Grey, or the Friendly Lads, if I can get them as well. But I've also asked to go on their episode because I've got a topic that I want to talk about that's very DayZ specific. 10 ideas that I think DayZ could do that would really improve the game, but you'll have to hold onto that. Would you like to know one of my ideas?
One, at least give us one.
Let me see which one. Bring back the party bus and the troop cargo.
Yes, that would be great.
There's a whole generation of people out there who never got to experience them, and those who can, honestly, I think you would see the player numbers flood if they did the right marketing around a party bus update. Dun, 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 dun. And
Yeah,
just a bus coming
I experienced it
over
through
the hill.
videos. I never was in one, so
Yeah, it's the most insane time ever. It's just fun, complete and utter chaos and madness. But yeah, I've got 9 others that I want to discuss with those boys because they're another great show. I love the Friendly
they are
Guys,
great.
bunch of good lads. Anyway, all the best, everyone, and we will see you next week with whoever the mystery guest is going to be. Ciao for now.